UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 electric hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 7 o'clock. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 03444991000. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, March the 25th. Here's what's coming up. The furious father of a 7-year-old girl complains that his daughter was taught at her Church of England primary school how to pray like a Muslim in a religious education lesson last Wednesday. The dad says pupils were put through the whole Islamic routine, kneeling down, heads bowed, all of that. Parents, he says, were not informed of this classroom activity. Is this right? Should Christian kids be schooled in how to worship Allah? 03444991000. Also on today's show, as Starmer parrots more utter cobblers about renewables and weirdly states in the Commons that all climate decisions are nothing to do with him, Crazy Ed Miliband trots out his deranged solutions to the Iran war energy crisis. All we have to do apparently is buy a £400 plug-in solar panel from Lidl and get £30,000 heat pumps. How much longer do we have to put up with this dangerous lunatic? 03444991000. In other news, PhoneGate is getting serious. When his mobile phone full of messages about Peter Mandelson's appointment as US ambassador was stolen, the then Downing Street Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney didn't even tell the police who he was. As a result, they didn't bother investigating. But why does Number 10 keep insisting that with the theft, messages were lost? They can be retrieved, obviously. Is this a cover-up? What's going on? 03444991000. Plus, after last night's TV drama about his sordid grooming of a Welsh teenager, the BBC's former in-house paedophile is planning to stage a showbiz comeback. Do you wish him well? 03444991000. Also, more insane wokery from the National Trust as it declares its mission to replace British history with a devotion to foreign cultures. Why? 03444991000. And finally, furious Australians demand that not a penny of taxpayers' money is spent on the upcoming pretend royal tour by Harry and Meghan. Are the Aussies sick of the Sussexes like the rest of us? 03444991000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday afternoon together. Let's get going. Let's go straight over to my first guest. He is the Director of Popular Conservatism, Mark Littlewood. Welcome, Mark.
Afternoon, Kevin. Great to be with you.
Good to see you. Now, I think we need to talk about Morgan McSweeney's phone, don't we? Something isn't right here. Now, he gets his phone stolen. Apparently did dial 999, so it was reported to the police. He didn't tell them who he was. He didn't say, I'm the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff at number 10 Downing Street. So as a result, his report was treated just like any other report of a stolen phone by the police. It was completely ignored. So that went down the Swanee, that potential investigation. Then, and now indeed, we learn that Downing Street seems to be maintaining that, well, the problem is with the loss of that phone, we lost all of Morgan's messages about the appointment of Peter Mandelson to the key role of ambassador to the United States of America. What do you mean? You know, this is 2026. You lose the phone, you don't lose the messages. You can retrieve them easily. People are beginning to say something is fishy here, Mark. Is there a cover-up going on, do you think?
Look, it smells that way, doesn't it, Kevin? Because quite a lot of this story appears to make no sense. I'm no technical expert, but like you, I thought you could retrieve all of the data on a phone from the cloud. And I would think that's especially true of government devices, of which was one. The police have taken the extraordinary step, haven't they, of actually now releasing the transcript of Morgan McSweeney making the phone call to 999. There seems to be an unfortunate error in which he gets the road that the theft happened on wrong, which led the police to then investigate CCTV over in, I think it was Tower Hamlets or Stepney rather than in Westminster. But then the other really curious thing, and this weighs with me in terms of trying to judge whether it's a cover-up, McSweeney is issued the next day at number 10 with a replacement phone with the same telephone number, but number 10 doesn't then take any kind of security protocols into consideration. You would have thought then that even if it had slipped McSweeney's mind, that whoever is in charge of security at Downing Street would have said, well, where are we with the police investigation? Were you clear to them about who you were? Do we know if there's any sensitive material on this phone? I don't mean politically sensitive, I mean national security sensitive. That discussion didn't seem to be had at all. So all of it looks extraordinarily bad and deeply suspect, doesn't it?
Yeah, and as, you know, the Prime Minister's right-hand man, the Chief of Staff at number 10 Downing Street, if he has his personal phone stolen, the first thing you say to the police is, listen, you know, I'm not some ordinary Joe. I am the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff at Downing Street. That phone is crucial. The police would have been galvanised into action. Instead, he didn't mention that, and therefore the police treated it like any other phone theft. They just completely ignored that report. Yep. That's what they do. In some ways, you can't blame them, considering a phone gets stolen every 6 seconds in London. But then we still seem to have this maintenance of an argument by number 10 Downing Street that as we demand that the appointment of Peter Mandelson is fully investigated, what messages were sent. You know, the Prime Minister has admitted that he didn't speak to Peter Mandelson before that appointment. He left the vetting of this guy, Mandy, to two of Mandy's mates, Morgan McSweeney and Matthew Doyle, the former Chief of Communications at number 10 Downing Street. So can we look at their messages? Oh, well, you see, Morgan's had his phone stolen.
Yeah.
To which we should say, so what? Get us the messages. It's not, you know, 1995. You can get these messages back. You can retrieve them, so retrieve them and tell us what was on them. This is ridiculous. Dan Hodges got it right in the Mail yesterday. He said that the Prime Minister is staging a Rebecca Vardy defence. You remember the long-running Wagatha Christie case against Colleen Rooney, where her key evidence on her phone unfortunately was not available because, oh no, she dropped it in the North Sea. The phone was dropped in the North Sea. That was a risible defence, a risible argument. And so Dan Hodges quite rightly is saying, well, the Prime Minister is insulting our intelligence with a Rebecca Vardy defence on the issue of Morgan McSweeney's phone. You know, there's a lot more to this. We need to be told, don't we?
Oh, we absolutely need to be told. And I think quite quickly, I mean, let's hope your technological understanding, Kevin, and mine is accurate, because it seems to me that if there is something untoward here, it will also fail. I still can't see why the information can't be retrieved even at this stage. And there would need to be one hell of an explanation as to why. If the information couldn't be retrieved for some reason, I think you need to put McSweeney and Mandelson under oath to give their best recollection of exactly what messages were exchanged and when, and they shouldn't be able to confer on that. So hugely, hugely convenient, and at best an incredibly sloppy approach to security at number 10, which clearly needs tightening up as well. So, yeah, I can understand why people are deeply, deeply suspicious, but here's hoping that some independent technological expert can still get us to the bottom of it. He should be able to, I would have thought.
Yes, and if nothing else, the Prime Minister and number 10 Downing Street need to assure us that this is not what it seems like, And that is, it seems like a cover-up. They need to tell us why this is not a cover-up, why this story is valid, because it doesn't seem very valid at the moment. Talking of invalid, let's talk about the Energy Secretary, shall we? Ed Miliband. We are facing maybe the worst oil shortage in the history of the world, thanks to the Strait of Hormuz, Trump's war, where 20% of the world's oil used to be shipped until the Iranians basically closed that 25-mile channel of sea up. So there's a real crisis times. Ed Miliband, he thinks that this is a time not to relax his net zero mania. It's time to double down and prove that this country can do what is actually scientifically impossible, and that is to survive entirely on renewables, on windmill and solar panel power. It's not even remotely possible, and yet he keeps telling us that. The Prime Minister said exactly the same. It's either a lie or they're both morons, or a combination of both. The Prime Minister said exactly the same today in PMQs in the House of Commons. Now, here's Ed Miliband's answer to all our woes in these difficult times. All we have to do to get through the impending oil shortage crisis, energy crisis, is this: go down Lidl and buy ourselves £400 plug-in solar panels. They're £400 each. Plug them in. Then you can get your power from your plug-in Lidl solar power panel. Also, we've all got to get heat pumps, £30,000 a throw. So we just do those two things. That's it. Bob's your uncle. Look, he's brilliant, isn't he, Ed?
It boggles the mind, Kevin. I mean, first of all, I'm speaking to you from my ground floor flat in Battersea, so I can't put a solar panel anywhere, and I haven't got £30,000 lying around for a heat pump. Look, the fact of it is this, isn't it? That if any of this stuff truly worked, and, you know, in certain circumstances, it might be the right choice for a particular person, you don't need the government mandating it. People will automatically pick the best and most reliable forms of energy if the government doesn't force you to go down a particular route. So what we've got is the government encouraging us to go down this crazy renewable route, not because it's a good source of energy, but in order to indulge Ed Miliband's net zero fetishism, whilst we are leaving in the ground unbelievably valuable natural resources, which we are refusing to give licenses to be properly exploited. It is complete insanity. We have got to get off this net zero nightmare and actually say we want the cheapest, most reliable energy we can lay our hands on. That definitely includes exploitation of resources in the North Sea, gas and oil. But I think we also need to reopen the question of fracking. When that was allowed in the States of America, their energy bills tumbled. So they are pursuing a particular type of energy, which by and large is inefficient and inexpensive, and people would not choose voluntarily. And they're doing it not to try and offset an energy crisis, but because they have this ludicrous target of carbon net zero by 2050 in the UK, which will do nothing whatsoever with regard to any global climate change, not a jot.
Yes, and Ed Miliband yesterday in Energy Questions in the Commons is that, so we are using oil and gas from the North Sea. Well, he's closed down any more exploration and any more exploitation. So we're getting dribbles still, but no thanks to him. And since he said, no, it's a combination. We are using North Sea gas and oil. Well, if we are using enough of it, how come we're buying it from the other exploiter of North Sea oil and gas, Norway? We're buying North Sea oil and gas, which which is ours, from Norway, because we refuse to exploit it for halo polishing reasons. We're also buying fracked energy from America, while we go, oh, we don't frack, it's bad for the environment. Is it? Nobody knows that. But here is, Mark, this is today in PMQ's Prime Minister's Question Time in the House of Commons, and this is the Prime Minister, you know, regurgitating, parroting this utter unscientific claptrap that somehow this country can be powered by windmills and solar power alone. It can't. But here's Keir Starmer.
Let's be clear, when Russia invaded Ukraine, energy prices doubled. The 12-day war, oil prices hit £100 a barrel. In the last 4 weeks, because we're on the fossil fuel roller coaster, everybody has been held to ransom. The only way forward is to go further and faster on renewables.
Mark, this is not only fantastical nonsense, it's seriously dangerous to the economy of this country and to the people of this country. We've got this madman, this lunatic, Ed Miliband, who genuinely, in my view, deserves to be in a padded cell in a straitjacket with the nonsense, the unscientific claptrap he spews. And now we've got the Prime Minister just repeating the nonsense that his Energy Secretary spews out. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, what was even worse at Prime Minister's questions today, Kevin, is the Prime Minister said to Kemi Badenoch, well, energy policy is not really down to me.
No, it's more than that, Mark. He kept saying it. He kept saying it big time. Actually, we've got that. Let's remind ourselves. Very bizarre, I agree with you. Here he is, the Prime Minister saying, nothing to do with me, Governor.
Legislation, the statute, the law prescribes the decision maker. They know that. They should be embarrassed that she doesn't even... she's attacking me without having read the legislation. The legislation sets out who the decision maker is. It's the Secretary of State. It is not the Prime Minister. It has to be the Secretary of State, and it's a quasi-judicial process, exactly the process that they ran for many years.
I would maintain, Mark, that all decisions by the government are de facto the decision of the Prime Minister. Every decision has to be green-lighted by the man in charge. There he is saying, well, look, you know, it's nothing to do with me. I'm just the Prime Minister. It's the Energy Secretary. What the hell is that creep talking about?
It is absolutely maddening, Kevin, because although you might find that various laws and statutes say, well, this decision will be up to the Health Secretary or the Transport Secretary or the Energy Secretary, the Prime Minister can hire and fire those Secretary of States at will. So if the Secretary of State for Energy makes a decision that the Prime Minister disapproves of, he can remove him immediately. Ed Miliband is not constitutionally protected from the Prime Minister removing him. So it is in the Prime Minister's hands. He can insist on there being a Secretary of State that will take a certain strategic policy approach. He doesn't have to allow Ed Miliband to remain in position. It's his political discretion to do so. So ultimately, it is down to him, whatever specific regulations might say about this decision begins in the inbox of the Secretary of State for Energy. So it's pretty close to misleading Parliament, because although the law might give Secretary of State's powers, they can be Parliament by will by the Prime Minister.
And there's no doubt what says that the kids, Church of England kids, Christian kids, were coerced into Muslim praying, into a Muslim prayer session. Let's talk about that next. Stay tuned.
brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is an extraordinary story. A concerned father, has written to Richard Tice, the local MP up in Lincolnshire. He's the Reform Deputy Leader, of course, but he's the MP up in Lincolnshire. And this concerned dad has written to Richard to say, listen, last Wednesday, my 7-year-old daughter, along with other 7-year-old primary school kids at a Church of England school were, as he put it, coerced into a Muslim praying session. It was a religious education lesson, and the kids were all taught all the movements, down on their knees, you know, all that head bowing and everything. You know the drill. And so Richard Tice has written to the new Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally, to say, well, you know, what's going on here? This isn't right, is it? Well, let's talk, shall we, to journalist Khadija Khan. Let's see what she thinks about this. Welcome back to the show, Khadija. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Kevin.
Now, what do you make of this? This is last Wednesday, so pretty recent. It was a religious education lesson in this primary school in Lincolnshire. The kids were all coerced, as this father puts it, into a Muslim praying session, taught how to do the movements, all down on their knees. You will know the drill. I think most of us can imagine it. And this father says he feels this is very wrong. And Richard Tice, the local MP, has written to the Archbishop of Canterbury to say, you know, is this what should be happening in Church of England schools? I mean, you know, freedom of religion, and it's quite right that kids should be taught about religion. Religious education is an important part of the curriculum. But actually getting 7-year-old kids to enact Muslim praying, Christian kids, that doesn't ring right with me. What do you feel about it?
I agree with you that children should be educated about religious belief or other religion or different religious backgrounds. And we take immense pride in being a tolerant society that respects the freedom of individuals to practice any religion they choose or to choose no religion at all. However, in light of this incident, these children from other religious backgrounds are seemingly being compelled to participate in a certain Islamic ritual, which indicates a concerning level of coercion that may be at play. I'm horrified by the thought, what if they had refused to do so? They could have been labeled as racist or Islamophobic for refusing to comply, or they might have been put on anti-racist training sessions for refusing to or resisting to two-way integration as described in repackaged Islamophobia definition announced by the Labour Party. And let's not forget what happened when an autistic child from a school in Wakefield was suspended by the school and punished with intimidation and death threats by the fellow students for bringing a copy of Quran in the school and mistakenly dropped it. These students who issued the threats were off the hook, and the mother of this child had to effectively beg for her son's safety in a Sharia court-style all-men gathering in a mosque, while the school and police were apparently more concerned about protecting religious fanatics' hurt feeling. So I believe we are heading in a very sinister direction in terms of asserting religious freedoms in public square. And this is very un-British way of making other people respect one's belief.
Yeah, there's a fear here of a kind of indoctrination, a brainwashing process going on. And this is not the first time I've come across this syndrome. A year or so ago, some parents in Wales held an emergency meeting after they found out that the kids in their local primary school, state school, normal Church of England school, were almost secretly taken to a mosque, taught how to pray. The little girls were taught how to put hijabs on and all that, and the parents didn't even know, and they were furious. I should say that the Diocese of Lincoln, who run this school, have defended what has happened, and they said this. I want to get your thoughts on this. During the lesson, which began following the relevant lesson plan, pupils were invited to demonstrate some of the movements associated with Muslim prayer. Although this was outside the lesson's intended approach, it was not an act of worship. No prayers or religious words were spoken, and no child was required to take part. No mats were used, and pupils were not asked to face any particular direction. They're 7-year-old kids. They would have done exactly what the teacher said. So you can take it that every single kid in this class did what they were told. And I would like to know it's quite right that kids should be taught about Islam, just as they should be taught about Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, all the faiths. Quite right, quite right. I would like to know, in this instance, though, why teaching kids about Islam involved them, as this dad said, being coerced into mimicking Muslim praying. I think that's strange. I think that is a source of concern, and I don't think it should be happening.
It was unnecessary, to be very honest. You can educate children about Islam and Islamic belief without making them mimic the Islamic rituals. I mean, any school in this country would not dare to make Muslim children from Muslim background to mimic any religious ritual from any other religious belief. So I think it's beggars belief that was totally unnecessary. And this impression that has been, put out in the name of diversity and respecting other people's belief, and this has been conditioned to this one, perception that we have to respect other people's belief in order to protect the followers of that religion from discrimination. It's bizarre, and it doesn't make really sense, because this rather creates an unhealthy environment of fear and conformity rather than inclusivity. I wholeheartedly support educating children about different religion, but we must draw the line when it comes to coercion, even when it is cloaked in the noble ideals of diversity and multiculturalism. Such practices and such attitudes, they undermine the very principle of tolerance and respect that we hold dear as a society. And according to the Islamic teaching, you would be very surprised to know that parents are instructed to teach children to perform prayer at the age of 7 and to strictly enforce this before they even reach puberty. This is based on an authentic hadith. In this case, these children are 7-year-old. For a school to require these 7-year-old children to engage in an Islamic prayer cannot be accurately described as inclusive or an act of diversity. Instead, it represents a form of ideological indoctrination, in my opinion. And this is also an infringement on parents' rights and the individual beliefs of children. Parents, they have absolutely they absolutely deserve to be informed about the content of their children's education, especially when it involves religious practices that may conflict with their own beliefs. And there might be some children who do not subscribe to any religion at all. I think school is a place of learning. It is not a place to be politicized.
Yeah.
And this school should know better.
Yeah, and but I'll tell you what their statement should say. I mean, they go on, they admit in their statement, although this was outside the lesson's intended approach, it was not an act of worship. That's not the point. What they should say is, we've spoken to the teacher and she, I think it was a she, will not be doing that again. When parents are concerned about this, you can understand it. As I say, I did a similar story about a year ago about a school in Wales. All the parents had an emergency meeting. You took our kids to a mosque and you didn't tell us. They were taught how to put hijabs on. You didn't tell us. After I did that story, the phone, the switchboards here lit up, and I had people from all over the country. I remember getting a couple of calls from Liverpool, particularly with parents saying, yeah, that happened to my kid. So these schools, these state schools and Church of England schools, seem to be somehow or other participating on what looks like a suspicious indoctrination process.
I believe so, because saying that this was not the participation in an Islamic ritual, I think that is irrelevant, because you're making children do something that Muslims do while praying. That means that you are making them do something which is very much, embedded in Islamic discourse, in Islam as a religion. So it is unnecessary, as I said, because we have to be, I guess we have to be wary of these theocratic and totalitarian attitude, to be very honest, because I find it very undemocratic, very un-British that we have freedoms in this country, freedom of religion and freedom from religion. But these kind of attitude that is coming from a certain section of a certain community, and then we see the people in general, they are trying to appease these people who are very vocal and very assertive when it comes to assert their religious belief in public square. I think it's not fair with those children who are
they're only 7. They're only 7, Khadija. That is a very formative age. And as we speak, by the way, Khadija, we've got somebody from East Sussex just phoned up to say a similar thing happened to my daughter at a Church of England school. So this is going on all over the country. Khadija, I've got to go now, but always a pleasure to have you at the show. Well said, by the way. Take care. We'll come on again soon. Khadija Khan there, journalist, sort of disillusioned, former Muslim, I would call her. Next up, we are going to talk specifically about Ed Miliband's genius plan for us to get through the Iran war energy crisis. All go down to Lidl and buy a £400 plug-in solar panel. I'll see you there, middle aisle, with my 400 quid. Yeah, right, Ed, thanks very much. We'll talk about that next. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk
Welcome back. A couple of points. Breaking news. Resident doctors in England are to strike for 6 days from April the 7th in the ongoing row over pay and jobs. This has been announced by that left-wing union, the pompously named two-bit trade union, the British Medical Association. It'd almost be more newsy, wouldn't it, if doctors didn't go on strike, because they're nearly always on strike at the moment. So thank you very much, doctors. We look forward to patients dying while you stand on picket lines, you disgraces to your profession. All right, let's move on. Oh, by the way, also I should say that story about the kids being taught how to pray like Muslims at a Church of England school, the local MP for that school, Richard Tice, who has written to the Archbishop of Canterbury about this issue. Richard Tice will join me later in the show. Now let's get back to Crazy Ed, Mad Miliband, and let's talk to the environment editor at the Daily Sceptic, Fulham fan Chris Morrison. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Kevin. Can we talk about Fulham?
Yeah, let's do that. 3-1 against Burnley. Hey, I was there. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. The floodlights worked and everything. But for how much longer with Ed Miliband in charge? So listen, this guy, I mean, his insanity. He's either lying or he's a fool, that he actually keeps telling us that this country, Great Britain, can be powered exclusively by renewables, by windmills and solar panels. It can't. It just can't. With a view to that, he's cut off any more supplies from the North Sea gas and oil fields. Say, oh, we do still take North Sea gas and oil, but less than we used to. Well, on that respect, I would say, well, why are we buying North Sea oil and gas from Norway then? And why are we buying fracking energy from America, another virtue signalling ban that you've imposed on this country? And we just heard the Prime Minister. Have we got that, by the way? Have we got the Prime Minister again? So I'm just talking to talk amongst yourself, Chris. I'll play you the Prime Minister in a minute. Yeah, here's the Prime Minister parroting what Ed Miliband keeps telling us.
Invaded Ukraine, energy prices doubled. The 12-day war, oil prices hit £100 a barrel. In the last 4 weeks, because we're on the fossil fuel roller coaster, everybody has been held to ransom. The only way forward is to go further and faster on renewables.
And with a view to that, so that's Ed Miliband, all over, isn't it? That's the Prime Minister just repeating what his mad net zero secretary said. Ed Miliband's answer to the impending massive oil shortage, Chris, is that we all go out to Lidl and buy ourselves a £400 plug-in solar panel, and also, by the way, get yourself a £30,000 heat pump as well. Thanks, Ed. We're all in the clear now. These people, Ed Miliband, Keir Starmer, they're either lying or they're morons. Which do you think it is?
Both. I think you can be both. Sinister as well. He talked about us being on a hydrocarbon roller coaster. Well, welcome to the real world. We are on a hydrocarbon roller coaster. It's impossible to run a modern industrial society without it. And what I find interesting in the public discourse of late, and I've been writing about it, and many others have for a number of years now, is people are realising that hydrocarbons are used for everything else. The British Pharmaceutical Association did a paper recently where they pointed out that hydrocarbons are in practically all medicines, as far as I could see. That if we go down to Lidl to buy our
plug-in solar panel,
fashion accessory for the virtuous who walk amongst us, if we go down there, we might find that without any hydrocarbons, there's no food to buy. We can buy a solar panel. On the solar panels, by the way, I just did a little bit of work. I mean, they're not the most disastrous thing you can buy. I mean, you stick one on your house, and as you say, you show you're extremely virtuous. There'll probably be a payback of after about 8 years. But they produce minimal amounts of electricity. I mean, enough to run a refrigerator or a few lights. Nothing like the amount needed for a home. You need a southern-facing space, Of course, we know that for most of the time, the sun doesn't shine in this country. So, and in the winter, it only shines at the most from about 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. They're completely useless. But I mean, if you want to show how virtuous you are, you can stick one on your house. The more horrible things is the whole renewables scam, and it is a scam.
Yeah.
But the fact that these turbines, I've written a couple of stories in the Daily Skeptic recently. Did you know that 500,000 balsa wood trees are now having to be logged illegally in the Amazon every single year just to provide the core? Balsa is a very, very good core for these huge wind turbines. Each set of 3 takes 40 balsa wood trees. Until about 2020, they were mining them sustainably in plantations because it's relatively fast-growing tropical hardwood. Not anymore. They're having to loot the Amazon rainforest, and this is going on under our nose, and nobody seems to say anything about it. Did you know, for instance, that if you want an EV car and you want to top up the range, a very good way to do that is add a bit of nickel to it. Unfortunately, nickel is not available everywhere, but it's mostly available under Indonesian rainforests. So as we speak, they are digging up Indonesian in order to get nickel. Did you know that in the wind turbines, the rare earth sorry, I haven't got it quite. Neodymium. It needs to get a ton of this stuff out of the earth. It takes 2,000 tons of waste, and they do a lot of it in China. It's half the price in China, which is why they make all the wind turbines. It goes into magnets so that's why it's so important in electric vehicles and wind turbines.
Yeah.
They're despoiling vast areas of China. China is full of these pits of toxic waste, which is just left there, despoiling the water supply, all this sort of thing. The whole of the energy, the renewable energy system, the wind turbines, the solar, is parasitical.
Yeah.
It's parasitical on the hydrocarbon business because they require huge amounts of energy. They require huge amounts of mining, energy to make it, steel, concrete. They need vast amounts of it. Precious metals, copper, all has to be mined in order to produce power some of the time. And then when they're not being produced, then of course hydrocarbons have to kick in.
Yeah.
So yeah, by all means, go down to Lidl and buy your silly little, sort of
plug-in panel, £400, just 400. Here's the thing, Chris, right? So the hackneyed old cliche that Starmer and particularly Miliband keep spewing out is we've got to go harder and faster, as we just heard the Prime Minister, towards renewables. Ed Miliband, we have to get to the point where we're entirely powered by windmills and solar panel so that we don't have to buy energy from foreign countries. Well, at the moment, we're having to buy a lot of energy from foreign countries, including, absurdly, buying North Sea gas and oil, which is ours, from Norway because they exploit their resources properly and we don't. Also, we buy fracked energy from America and all over the world. The reason we're having to buy so much energy from abroad is because Ed Miliband is plunging us more and more into the false paradise of a renewable powered country. This nation can never be powered by windmills and solar panels alone. In fact, the best we can hope for from those two sources of energy is not all that much at all, is it?
Well, I mean, and you look at the entire energy mix, electricity grid is 20%. So 80% of it, even if we go to some sort of net zero by 2030, 80% of the economy, the energy in the economy will still be hydrocarbons. That is why we need to drill like crazy for all of the gas that we can get. And leaving aside, as I said earlier, the fact that we will have our food supplies cut in half if we don't use natural fertilizer. All of the plastics will go, a lot of the medicines will go. And it's becoming obvious to people. And you have these sinister people now. I think that sinister is the only word I can think of, people like Starmer and certainly Miliband, who are determined to remove this vital resource from our economy. It doesn't make any sense at all.
It's terrifying at this point.
It is. Yes.
In this particular point. Chris, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Come on again very soon. Chris Morrison, the brilliant environment editor at the Daily Skeptic. Before we go to break, quick voice note from Dallas on renewables. That's Dallas, a person, I think.
Hi, just listening to him saying about everything's got to go green, they're going to put it all excel it and get it go, make it go faster. Well, I was sales rep, and I went to a customer's house the other day, and she worked for a company that built wind farms, and they got so much electricity they couldn't get rid of it because the power companies haven't got the storage to store the electric. So it doesn't matter how many solar panels and whatever wind farms and whatever they put up, they can't store the power anyway. So they're just talking a complete load of rubbish and need to go back to fossil fuels.
Well said. I mean, you know, we are trapped in a world of madness. These people are selling us snake oil. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And yet there you got the Prime Minister, yeah, renewables going to double down, you know, Ed Miliband. Oh, yeah, the oil shortage. This is the time to prove we don't need oil. Yeah, but the thing is, Ed, we do need oil. You can't just magic away that necessity. It's extraordinary. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, let's talk about Morgan McSweeney's mobile phone gate. It's all getting pretty murky. That next, stay tuned.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to the Deputy Political Editor at The Spectator, James Hill. Welcome, James.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, we need to talk about Morgan McSweeney's phone because this is seeming to be more murky by the moment. Now, two tranches to this story. First of all, the then Downing Street Chief of Staff, very important man, has his phone stolen. He phones 999, my phone has been stolen. The police do nothing about it because they never do anything about stolen phones. You can't blame them. A phone gets stolen every 6 seconds in London. Morgan McSweeney, strangely, you know, if I was him, I would say, I've had my phone nicked, and before you just dismiss me like any old Joe, I am the Chief of Staff at number 10 Downing Street. I am the Prime Minister's right-hand man. This isn't just any phone. he didn't say that, which is strange in itself. Fast forward to the last few weeks, and the narrative has been about investigating the messages that were exchanged about Peter Mandelson in the run-up to him getting appointed to the key position of ambassador to the United States of America. The Prime Minister, as we know, rode himself out of that process for reasons that still escape us, but he wasn't involved. He left it to Morgan McSweeney and Peter Mandelson's other great mate, Matthew Doyle, the then head of communications at number 10 Downing Street. These messages apparently went between these two guys on their private phones. That phone was stolen. Number 10 now says, well, the phone's been stolen, so we've lost those messages. What a shame. What a shame. What are they talking about? You've lost the phone. It doesn't mean to say you can't retrieve the messages. Something isn't right here, James.
Yes, and I think that it's really striking that when there was all the row around potentially the Mandelson text coming out last October, there were already reports about potentially people in number 10 feeling very, very nervous about what would come out from these texts between Morgan McSweeney and Mandelson. A week later, obviously, the phone gets allegedly stolen, and then we have this very odd phone call transcript between the Metropolitan Police and McSweeney. And now this afternoon, after PMQs, we had a lobby briefing, and number 10 refused to say that they thought the messages had been lost between Mandelson and McSweeney. But I do know people in government were very, very concerned about this. And I think everyone would like to see what was in those messages and can they somehow be retrieved?
Andrew Griffith, former Downing Street Special Advisor under Boris Johnson, said that this incident smells as fishy as a Somali trawler. The police unusually have released the conversation between McSweeney and the 999 handler when he phoned in. So it went like this. This happened on October the 20th. There's no doubt that his phone was stolen somewhat traumatically, but it goes, "Oh, hello, someone just robbed my phone." The call handler later asked if there was a tracker on the phone, to which Mr. McSweeney replied, "I do have a tracker. It's a government phone." That was it. That's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. And I think that it's quite telling. You've had lots of people who've worked in government before now coming and saying what the proper process for this is. One would think perhaps that in the circumstances, the Downing Street Chief Staff would make a big point about this, not least, of course, because I'm aware of historic cases where people in Westminster think they've been targeted because of who they are in terms of phone theft. Obviously, a huge amount of data that would be of potential interest to a hostile regime, like the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, etc. And I think there is a sense around this that the government's been less than white on it. And I think there's a sense perhaps that McSweeney's phone is a little bit like sort of Chekhov's gun, and it could be the thing that brings it down in the final act of this government.
Dan Hodges in the Mail said that this was the Keir Starmer's Rebecca Vardy defence. You remember the Wagatha Christie case, where the key phone evidence on against Colleen Rooney, the key phone evidence allegedly on Rebecca's phone or her publicist's phone was not available because that phone fell into the North Sea. Again, people saying, well, so what? You can still retrieve the information that was on it. But yes, the Prime Minister said, "Oh, we lost the phone, so we can't get these messages." What's he talking about? It is a Rebecca Vardy defence, and these messages must be retrievable. No problem at all. They need to be retrieved, and they need to start telling us what's going on, don't they?
Well, they do, very much so, Kevin. And I think that the opposition in Parliament is going to be looking at all the different mechanisms by that, because, of course, the government did sign up to a very restrictive and bound and quite wide-ranging humble address in Parliament. They need to hand over those messages, and I'm sure that there'll be all sorts of mechanisms explored over the next couple of days to try and get to the bottom of this, because, as you say, right now the government case seems to be sinking like Rebecca Vardy's old phone.
Yeah, and you know, what the number 10 Downing Street, and indeed the Keir Starmer, what they need to do is to dispel the growing cries of cover-up. This sounds like a dodgy cover-up. Now, I'm not saying it is necessarily, but so far, number 10 Downing Street and the Prime Minister have taken no steps to assure us nothing is dodgy here. Therefore, it seems even dodgier still. About time they said something, isn't it?
I think so, and I think that it's now leading. I think most of the newspapers, just been on some of their websites. The fact that it's sort of still dominating does show that the Mandelson scandal isn't going away. And I think that the public, perhaps in terms of all these stories around phones, has been a lot wiser over the last few years. And we've had a lot of similar excuses before. And so forgive us if we're not sort of slightly skeptical, even cynical about these natures. We all know that phone messages can be accessed different ways. And I think very much this is not going away. And I expect tomorrow on the media round, that's going to be asked by a lot of people. And there's no surprise the Met want to get their side out because they think everyone's been accusing them of being stupid. They're actually saying it's very different.
Wes Streeting was asked about this today, and he said, I understand it's not a good look. He went on to say, but when politicians say it's raining, people look up to the sky to check if it's true. Nobody believes a word politicians say. Gee, Wes, I wonder why that is. Do you know what I mean? Come on. It's an interesting story, though, isn't it, James? And I'm sure you will be covering it spit and comma. I look forward to what you write about it. Good to have you on the show. Thank you so much. That's James Hill, the brilliant deputy political editor at The Spectator magazine. Let me know what you think about that, because something smells extremely fishy about that. As I say, oh, we lost the phone. We can't get the messages back. It's 2026. You can get the messages back. You can get every piece of information that was on Morgan McSweeney's phone. Everybody knows that. It's about time the government came clean about what the hell is going on here. Otherwise, we will continue to say Keir Starmer and number 10 Downing Street looked as if they are orchestrating a cover-up. I think we have a right to know, don't you? 03444991000. After the break, Samara Gill will be in the studio running through some of the big stories of the day. That next. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Samara Gill is in the studio. Welcome, Samara.
Hello.
Let's run through some of the big stories of the day. In a few minutes, I'll be talking to Richard Tice, who is the local MP of a father who wrote to Richard to say, I'm not happy about this. And what he's not happy about is this. His 7-year-old daughter, he says, at her Lincolnshire Church of England school, was shown in a religious education lesson last Wednesday, a video of people kneeling on prayer mats in the direction of Mecca and reciting a prayer to Allah. Was that they were then told to have a go at it themselves. So the kids, 7-year-old kids, as the father puts it, were coerced into a Muslim prayer session. The little kid, his daughter, as he was putting her to bed last Wednesday, she said, we did prayers to Allah yesterday. He's furious about this. Richard Tice has written to the Archbishop of Canterbury. This is a Church of England school. The Diocese of Lincoln, which runs the school, said, this wasn't actually a prayer session. It was religious education. The teacher did go slightly outside the remit. But it wasn't, these are 7-year-old kids all being forced to Muslim or coerced into Muslim prayer. So people say, they didn't have to do it. They're 7-year-old kids. They'll do what the teacher says, won't they? This is worrying, isn't it?
This is just outrageous, but this is sort of a story that encapsulates what's happening with the Islamification of Britain and the way that an ideology which is mainly peaceful, but there are sections of it that are being shoved down the throats of people that don't want anything to do with it. And I think we need to be really careful. It's a slippery slope with this sort of thing. I remember doing a story with you last year about the children
I mentioned it earlier. Yeah.
Exactly. In Wales, where children were taught how to fast for Ramadan using prayer mats, other things that...
Kids, little girls taught how to put hijabs on, and the kids were taken on a trip to the local mosque, and the parents weren't even told. They had an emergency meeting, remember?
Which, for any trip outside of school, I do believe that parents should give informed consent for that. And I think that this is creeping in slowly, but, we can see that kids get preyed on quite a bit. Even this Manosphere documentary that I think a lot of people have watched, this Louis Theroux thing.
So boring.
I know you hated it, Kev, but he did actually he pointed to a section...
I find everything boring.
Well, he pointed to a section within there where he talks about how Islam is sort of a wing of that manosphere.
Yes, that's
and they're trying to, in a way, indoctrinate young men who don't have much guidance in life. And I think in this scandalised...
Because they like the male-dominating arena that Muslimism can be.
Precisely. And I think in a time when we have got young boys that are directionless and a scandalised society, you can see how one would fall into the trap of thinking that, a religion that they maybe don't know much about. I think I've got no issue with it, whatever you want to convert to. It's a free country, but I think it's wrong to press this on 7-year-old children.
Yeah, teach them about Islam, teach them about Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, all the religions, by all means, but don't make them do Muslim praying. Apparently it's the whole kit and caboodle, all lying down and, and a dad to be told by his little daughter, we prayed to Allah today or yesterday, she said. I mean, come on.
It's very dark and insidious.
There's something worrying about that, and we'll talk to the local MP of that school, Richard Tice, next. He's written to the Archbishop of Canterbury, the new Archbishop of Canterbury, sworn in today, Sarah Mullally, to ask her what the hell's going on. Now, I've got you in here especially, Samara. We've got some other stories to talk about, but this is an Australian story, and I'm a trained observer, and I can't help noticing you come from Australia.
The hatred on Kev's face, if you're listening.
Yeah, it's got Australia. No, seriously. So Harry and Meghan, we know, are going down there in a couple of weeks, next month, April, for another one of their weird pretend royal tours. They've done Colombia, they've done Nigeria, they've done Jordan. Now they're going to have a weird pretend royal tour down under of Australia. And a lot of royal watchers are kind of disconcerted by the fact that it's clear this is just money spinning. Apparently they've set up all these paid for personal appearances. Meghan is going to be the main attraction at a strange girls' weekend at some hotel. People are going to be spending like 2,000 quid each just to be in the Duchess of Sussex's wonderful orbit, etc., etc. So they're going to be making money down there. That's the idea. It's a money spinning tour of Australia while they pretend to be the king and queen, you know, visiting children's hospitals, but mainly they're making cash. Now, Australians, though, magnificent people that they are, have made their feelings utterly clear. Big petition going on, and Australians generally are saying, well, they can come here, but they're saying to the Australian government, you better not spend a single penny of Australian taxpayers' money on this visit, because it's not official. They're private citizens. You shouldn't be wasting our money on it. So if they want to come to Australia and they feel they need protection and security, they pay for it themselves, not Australian taxpayers. There's a lot of antipathy towards those two down where you come from, isn't there?
No, I mean, they are totally misguided on this trash for cash tour that they're trying to spin. I mean, call it what it is. That is genuinely what it is. They're trying to essentially disgrace what the late Queen said about not doing these pseudo-royal tours, not being 1 foot in, 1 foot out royals, and the Australian public, I just think that they've equated them to Americans who have this sort of glitzy view of celebrity and want to look up to them and want to be them, and it's all aspirational. But Harry and Meghan in Australia, it's not going to wash, because we are very much more like the British people, and we take a cynical view of celebrity, of even the royal family to some view, and definitely of Harry and Meghan. And, you know, we hold the royal family, we're part of the Commonwealth, we hold the royal family in very high regard, and the way that Meghan specifically, but Harry as well in his book and all his other appearances, have just spent years trashing the royal family, it hasn't done well with the Australian public. And, you know, this petition, it's got thousands upon thousands of signatures, because we don't want a dollar spent, an Australian dollar, which is about 5 pence, yeah, about 3p, spent on Harry and Meghan. It's going to be a travesty. They are going to get booed. It's not going to go how Meghan thinks.
Yeah,
mark my words.
And I think the Australians who've signed this petition, and I think it's not just people who signed the petition, you can tell it's the feeling around the country. I think they're quite right. These two people, the Duchess and Duke of Sussex, are private citizens. They're not. This is not a royal tour. These are two people who've taken it upon themselves to say, oh, you know, we'll come and visit some kids in hospital and we'll look like it's a royal tour. We'll take some pictures. That'll make us look good. And by the way, if you want a selfie with Meghan, it's $2,000. That's what they're doing. And so the Australians are quite right when they say, well, look, you know, by all means, you know, it's a free country. We don't particularly want you here, but if you want to come, by all means. But don't waste any of our money. We're not spending any money on you. This is not an official visit. They got a point.
Australians hold the same view that our British brothers and sisters have about not paying for their private protection. I mean, this has been Harry's hill that he wants to die on. You know, he wants the British public to fork out millions upon millions for private protection while he's here, and while he goes on his jaunts and goes and gets Deliveroo at his friend's house. And you know, that famous, now infamous Sun picture that they obtained where he's clicking on the Ring camera and trying to find old friends while he's in London and while he was doing his court case for us to pay for his protection. I mean, this is someone who, you know, Meghan is seen in Paris every other week, walking on the sidewalks, not in danger at all. But for some reason, Harry believes that he's entitled to what his brother, the future king, is. And I think it's this sense of entitlement that both Australians and British people cannot understand and cannot handle. You're not entitled to our taxpayer dollars, Harry, on either continent. It's just, it baffles me how Meghan believes that she's destined for this.
Yeah, I mean, they think they're royal. Well, they're not really. They're private citizens, particularly as they have both divorced themselves from royalty. You know, they're the ones who ran away. They're the ones who said we're going to make our own way in America. So they're nothing to do with the royal family. Therefore, they cannot expect Australian taxpayers, or for that matter, taxpayers anywhere in the world, to pay for their protection and their safety when they visit. They just visit like anybody else. If I go to Australia, I don't expect the police to turn up and go everywhere where I go to keep me safe. Why would I expect that? Why do they expect that? What do you think? By the way, just quickly on the Harry front, or the Harry and Meghan front, there's word that Netflix, I don't really believe this, but there's word that Netflix may be preparing to make a drama about polo in Florida, as produced by Prince Harry. He did that documentary series called Polo, and I think it was watched by about 7 people all over the world. It was the flop of the century. And if Harry or Netflix think that anybody's going to give a rat's backside about a drama about polo, I think you got another thing coming, Ginger Nuts. Forget it. Right, let's...
His last 2 brain cells rubbing together to come up with that idea.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk, shall we, about Ed Miliband. What do you make of his solution to the upcoming oil shortage, energy crisis that we're about to face due to the Straits of Hormuz? He says it's easy. We just go down Lidl, buy ourselves a £400 plug-in solar panel, and then get a £30,000 heat pump, and then we won't have to worry about oil shortages. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he needs to be sectioned, first of all. I mean, I say that as a joke for everyone listening, but I do think that it's net zero insanity that has led us down this path of poverty as a country. You can link it back to every single issue we are now facing. You know, I saw Rachel Reeves make her city speech just a couple weeks ago, and she goes, it's AI is the future. Well, AI is not going to be the future while we've got the most expensive oil and gas in the world at the moment. And look, Ed Miliband's plan, I mean, a couple of heat pumps, a couple of gadgets, it's not going to work. You know, the government promised that our energy bills would be reduced for this 3-month period, but unfortunately they didn't take into account any geopolitical issues, and it's going to go very badly after September. I think we can really forecast that there's going to be a big increase in bills because,
of course,
but it's not just about the global
those
conflict.
bills are not going to be helped by plug-in solar panels.
I mean, do you know where we live, Ed Miliband? Have you seen the weather? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know, when I lived in Australia could barely survive off solar panels when we tried that back in the day. Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
I think that he is lunacy at this point. And, you know, I'm hearing rumours Ed Miliband for PM. I mean, what would you even make of that? But apparently he's the strongest contender at this point.
I'll tell you what I'd make of it. I'd get on the first plane to Australia or anywhere.
It's worse over there.
I'd move to North Korea because it would probably be more liberal than Britain run by Ed Miliband. Now, a quick word about, the latest lamb to the slaughter at the BBC. He's a guy called Matt Britton. He is the new Director General, £565,000 a year, taking over from the last disaster, Tim Davey, who quit under a cloud because he was responsible for that disaster at Panorama, which has landed the BBC from Donald Trump with a $10 billion lawsuit that they'll probably lose. So he's gone. The new Director General announced today is a guy called Matt Britton. And one thing I will say to him, unlike most Director Generals, he's worked somewhere else apart from the BBC. So he joined Google in 2007, led the UK business, left in 2025 after running Google in several regions. He also worked in the regional and national press, consulting on media and technology, and he served on the board of Sainsbury's for 9 years. And you'll never guess.
Yeah, I was going to mention this.
He was on the board, he's just stepped down from this, the board of The Guardian Media Group. So
that bastion of great journalism.
Yeah, so it sounds like he's a lefty, but I mean, you know, at least he's worked somewhere else. At least he's worked in Google. But do you think he'll be any good?
I think it's a really interesting placement. I think it shows that the BBC does want to launch
slightly less insular than it usually
slightly
is.
less insular, slightly less governmental. You know, he's also a rower. I think he was an Olympic rower at some point as well. I think he's an interesting. He's coming.
Let's hope he doesn't sink at the BBC.
Well, he's tabloid-y indeed. I think he's coming in with this massive £10 billion lawsuit that's almost like a vice around his neck. He's got a lot to clean up. The BBC is a cesspit at the moment of wokeism, of major issues behind the scenes, I think, editorially, organisationally. He's going to have to clean up a lot. And also, it's a company that kind of isn't doing the best with the resources that it's got. He's someone who doesn't have any TV experience at all. If you look into his background, I think
what can possibly go wrong?
He's probably taking a significant pay cut by going to the BBC, even though he'll probably be on about over £400,000 a year. But I think he might, you know, catapult
well,
it
he's
into
on
the future.
£565,000 a year.
Exactly.
So
I'm willing
the
to give
£565,000 question, Samara. Will he sort out the biased newsroom, the anti-Israel editorial approach of the BBC?
He's going to have to clean out. I think that's what he's going to have to do. I think I do have actual sort of reverence for someone who, again, as you say, hasn't really worked within the public office. He's worked in a corporate environment where it's about cutting down on the basically getting the flab off and making sure that all resources are used effectively. And if he's going to do that with our taxpayer dollars, then I'll be happy to hear it. I've also heard on the grapevine floated that he might actually be making it more into a subscription model that
maybe he'll change the model.
Yes, and then if you want all the extras, then you can pay extra, and I'd be a big fan of that if it's anything less than the current TV license that I have to pay.
The only thing I would say about this guy is that Tim Davie and his acolytes have left it in such a mess, such a disaster. It is so rock bottom that the only way is up. We do wish Matt Britton well, but boy oh boy has he got a mountain to climb. Samara Gill, great stuff. Samara Gill, our brilliant roving reporter there. Next up, Richard Tice will join me. He's the local MP for this concerned father whose daughter was coerced into a Muslim praying session at her Church of England school. Richard Tice next. Stay tuned.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. He is, of course, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, but for the purposes of this story, more pertinently, he's the MP for Boston and Skegness. Welcome, Richard Tice.
Very good afternoon to you, Kevin. Yes, well...
Let's talk about this father who got in touch with you, a local Church of England school in your constituency. His daughter said to him as he was tucking her up in bed one night, we prayed to Allah yesterday. This is last Wednesday. There's a lesson at this Church of England school where the 7-year-old pupils were, as the father puts it, coerced into a Muslim praying session, down on their knees, all the usual, we know what it looks like. The school has admitted this was outside the remit of what religious education lessons should include. But I've already got phone calls from people all over the country saying similar things have happened to their kids.
Well,
and you've written to the church, to the Archbishop of Canterbury.
That's why. So we've not released the name of the school for obvious reasons, but I wanted to do this and to publicise the fact that it's happened and parents' real concern, because I feared that under the sort of left-wing dogma of the world of academia today, at every level, be it primary, secondary and university level, this stuff might be going on. And sure enough, you've just answered my question. If you're hearing it, or your listeners and viewers are hearing it elsewhere in the schools of their own children, it deepens my concern. So, yes.
I did a similar story to this, Richard, about a year ago in Wales, where concerned parents got in touch with us. And what happened there was, this was a primary school, the parents of these kids, these little kids, found out to their horror that without them knowing, their kids had been taken for a visit to the local mosque, where the girls were taught how to put hijabs on, and they all taught how to pray, and so on and so forth. The parents didn't even know about this. They held an emergency meeting to demand to know what the hell was going on. When I covered this story, again, I got phone calls from people all over the country. I remember a cluster of calls from the Liverpool area saying, yeah, this happened to our kids. What the hell is going on?
I'll tell you what's going on. There is a difference between students and children being educated that there are other faiths out there, apart from the faith of the school that they may be at, and actually sort of carrying out acts of prayer and adherence to that faith. There is a world of difference, and I suspect that the Church of England's guidance has been a little bit soggy and woolly, and local teachers, possibly union-led, although I don't specifically know, but they're not great, some of these unions.
Yeah.
I suspect that they have taken this into their own hands and increased that guidance to what we see today, which was in this school. Children were told to take off their shoes. They were told to kneel. There's a question mark as to whether or not prayer mats were involved or not. That seems to be in some dispute. It appears that they were basically told to turn towards Mecca and to pray to Allah. Now, there is some rowing back from the school. They're sort of denying some of the details, but they do accept that it's beyond, that what happened was beyond the guidance. And I think it's very important that the newly installed today Archbishop of Canterbury, actually reads my letter and gives a very serious deliberation and response to it, because apart from anything else, I don't think in the heart of certain parts of the country, whether it be Tower Hamlets or the heart of Bradford, I'm not sure that the reverse would be happening, frankly.
Exactly right.
And I just don't think it's an inappropriate thing to happen, and we have to make a real point of it. This is a country founded on Christianity. as always has been over 100 years and always must be over the next few hundred years.
Yeah.
And what we cannot have is a constant sort of chipping away little by little. And people say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's only a little thing, it's only a little thing. Well, lots of little things suddenly become a big thing. And it's a bit like what went on at the iftar in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, it sounds like a part of the fears over what seems to be some kind of indoctrination and Islamification of this country. As I'm sure you agree, I think it's perfectly right that kids should have religious education, learn about all religions. I remember I had to do it myself at school a few years ago, admittedly, but never once we learnt about Islam, we learnt about Buddhism, we learnt about Judaism, Hinduism, all the religions. Never once were we taught how to actually practice that religion. So something is wrong here, and the school has said, or the Diocese of Lincoln have said, this was outside the lessons intended approach. I think they should talk to this teacher and say, don't do that again. But
Kevin, it's broader than that.
Yeah.
That's why the Archbishop needs to get involved, because it's clearly, based on your listeners and viewers' responses, it's clearly quite broad across the country.
Indeed. Do you mind if we just move on? There's something I want to get you on, because it kind of annoys me. I don't think politicians should say things like this. This is the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, at a health event today. Listen to this.
We are seeing a tide of racism in this country, and a type of racism that I have never seen before as someone who was born in the 80s. It's the type of open, unapologetic racism I heard described to me as a kid from the 1970s. It is back. Reform fuel it, their politics benefit from it. A different type of threat to who we are and what we stand for. They have the audacity to dress up nationalism as patriotism and claim that they are the party for the working man and woman. At the same time, they are an affront to this country, its history, its heritage, its values, and its National Health Service. So yes, reform are a very different threat. I think they're an existential threat to this country, who we are and what we stand for. And if we can't defeat this lot, then we shouldn't be in the business of politics at all. We're going to take them on and we're going to beat them.
Reform is a party of racists, Richard. That's the Health Secretary saying that today. What do you think?
I've got news for Wes Streeting. You're not going to defeat us, so you might as well get out of politics. Because and this is the sort of desperation from a party that is going down the tubes rapidly. And they are losing votes to Reform. They are losing their sort of Islamic side of their voting base to the Green Party. And desperate people do and say desperate things. And I would just gently remind Wes Streeting, who normally is a good man trying to do a very difficult job as Health Secretary, that his party is still riddled with serious anti-Semitism. I said it earlier this week on Talk. I'll say it again. I think, give or take, 50% of the Labour MPs in the House of Commons, as well as a number of other MPs in other parties, are deeply anti-Semitic. It oozes out of their veins when they speak in the House of Commons. And I suggest that he looks at his own party and deals with the anti-Semitism rather than throwing stones at other people. That is the reality. And we face, I regret to say, that because of this anti-Semitism, we face deep sectarian politics emerging on the mainland of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, indeed, Richard. Now, similarly, I presume you're at PMQs today. This was rarely Nigel Farage got a chance to answer a question, which was good. Bear with us. Let's remind ourselves. It takes about a minute and a half, but it's well worth discussing. Let's watch what happened when Nigel Farage asked the Prime Minister a question.
Smash the gangs! That is what the Prime Minister promised us. Trust me, I will stop the boats from coming. But 70,000 later, and 1,000 in the last week, and too many young men that pose a threat to national security. Is it not time to admit Smash the Gangs has been a total abject failure, along, frankly, with most of his other policies? Isn't it now time, he told us, as summer approaches, what is Plan B?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is from the man and the party that voted against giving law enforcement counter-terrorism style powers to tackle it. So he wants the grievance, he doesn't want it sorted. And he has absolutely no judgment. He again said, let's join the war, let's all go to war. I want to make it perfectly clear he wants the war. A week later, screeching U-turn, we don't want to go to war. And he says, trust his judgment. Mr. Speaker, it's hard to take anything he says seriously. He promised lower tax, and now reform councils are hiking council tax by 9%. In Worcestershire, this is what he said about Worcestershire. He said, we took control of a virtually bankrupt council. I wish we hadn't bothered. He asked for people's votes, and then he abandons them. Reform don't want to solve problems, they only want to exploit them. I am thankful for the opportunity to change this country for the better. He says he wish he hadn't bothered winning councils, because they're an absolute disgrace.
So, Richard, you got there, first of all, of course, an absolutely disgraceful failure to answer a very pertinent question. And then more of what you just heard from Wes Streeting, this kind of hysterical hatred and bile towards reform. What's going on here? What's wrong with Starmer? What's that all about?
So you haven't got the clip, Kevin. Immediately after that, all 8 of us stood up and walked out in the middle of PMQs as a show of protest, because frankly, he didn't answer the question at all. In the same way, he didn't answer the question that Nigel asked a week or so ago. He didn't answer Kemi Badenoch's questions in PMQs. The whole thing's become a farce. The clue's in the title. It's Prime Minister's questions. We put questions to the Prime Minister and he should answer them, not completely divert onto something completely different. And again, it's the sign of desperation from a man who is, he's in office, but he's out of power, he's out of control, he's not leading his party, he's not leading the country, and he's just a bit like Wes Streeting, utterly desperate.
I'll tell you what, Richard, it's really good to talk to you, but you're so right. I mean, but they exude this sort of hysterical hatred of Reform UK, but you're right, they're like cornered rats. They're in trouble and they're lashing out mindlessly. And I do think we have a constitutional problem, particularly with this Prime Minister. PMQs, Prime Minister's questions, is in effect the nation's chance to put its leader on the spot and to answer key questions about what's going on in this country. And week after week after week, it's not just the odd question he doesn't answer. He doesn't answer a single question from Kemi Badenoch and now from Nigel Farage either. This is a problem. Something's got to be done about this.
Well, that's why we actually staged our protest, because we've just said enough's enough. It's a waste of time, and yeah, we want a proper debate. We want people to be aware. I mean, millions and millions of British citizens are most quite rightly concerned about the illegal invasion by tens of thousands of young males of military age, about whom we know nothing, some of whom don't wish us well and commit terrible crimes. And they want an answer to this. What's Plan B? Plan A from this government has failed. What's Plan B? Yeah. And the Prime Minister, he just doesn't care about ordinary people's lives and the experiences, the harassment they're getting, and it's an absolute disgrace, and it's got to be called out.
One thing Nigel did miss out there was the Smash the Gangs fiasco. Was capped off last Friday when the £200,000 a year head of the Border Security Command Force in charge of smashing the gangs, who hasn't smashed a single gang in 18 months, resigned. Gone, over. The whole thing is an absolute shambles. Richard,
presumably another one just thrown under the bus by the Prime Minister.
Of course, yeah, not my fault, Governor, him, yeah. Richard, great to have you on the show. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Richard Tice, MP, Deputy Leader favour of Reform UK. Let me know what you think. First of all, about Muslim prayers at primary school. Something's got to be done about that, I think. Schools teach kids about religion. Don't teach them how to practice those religions. That's weird. That's weird. And I think wrong. What do you think? 03444991000. And do you think, as West Streeting has maintained, and the Prime Minister said in the past, that Reform UK are a party full of racists? They're a racist party? 03444991000. Next up, we're going to talk about the National Trust. It has decided to abandon British history. This is the organisation against that run historic sites, stately homes, beautiful gardens, public land, all that. They've decided to abandon British history and tradition and instead prioritise, and I quote, embracing traditions of different cultures. What's an English stately home? What do you want to embrace a tradition of a different culture for? What's that about? 03444991000. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. National Trust, runs stately homes, beautiful gardens, parkland, beautiful sites of historic interest for all the nation to enjoy. Volunteers run these places. They've complained over the past few years that the National Trust has become ludicrously woke. Lots of excuses about slavery and, you don't want to like this guy. He used to run a plantation in the Caribbean and all that kind of stuff, pictures and all that. Well, anyway, to sort of emphasise the path that the National Trust seems to be travelling down, they have just updated its sort of mission statement, the National Trust mission statement. And rather than references to British history and culture, the National Trust's main mission now has been quietly updated its values to prioritise, and I quote, embracing the traditions of different cultures and stories of different histories. The organisation said it wanted to harness the ideas of a million minds, alive, open, a movement that reaches across time and place. It's like stately homes and nice-looking parks. What are they talking about? Let's talk to journalist and broadcaster Robert Taylor. Well, we've heard about the National Trust going a little bit too woke. A lot of the more traditional volunteers have resigned in disgust at the direction of travel of this organisation. Now, essentially, it wants to abandon its sort of mission statement to preserve and curate British history. Instead, they want to embrace the traditions of different cultures and to tell the stories of different histories, the ideas of a million minds alive, open, a movement that reaches across time and place. It's a stately home. What's wrong with these people?
What's wrong with them, indeed? It's just part of a trend, as far as I can see, Kevin, for certain institutions, a lot of institutions in the UK, to be wokeified, for want of a better word, to see British history and British countryside as somehow a source of shame. So you get government reports, Welsh government reports, DEFRA reports saying the countryside is racist. Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous, Kevin? And then you have British history, of course, must be a source of shame because by definition, anything prior to about 1960 is not multiracial and not multicultural enough. So you get Churchill's statue being abused and vandalised. You get street names being changed. You get Bob Monkhouse, we hear this week, who died 20 years ago. His joke book has been cancelled by the BBC because, of course, it contained jokes which in the 70s wouldn't be accepted now. Of course they wouldn't. That's history for you. And it seems to me that the National Trust is going down exactly this route, and I don't like it at all.
And they have been for some time. Here we go. The Trust its mission statement used to say that its raison d'etre was to protect nature, beauty and history in towns, cities, villages and countryside. It now says, it's changed all that, it now says we collectively represent a cause that is bigger than just ourselves or one property. It's about caring for nature and culture everywhere. This is accompanied by a video showing Corfe Castle being decorated to celebrate the Hindu festival of Holi. So suddenly the British National Trust represents different cultures everywhere and is not devoted to looking after stately homes because that's just one property. What utter claptrap. What are they talking about?
And also, Kevin, I would say it is claptrap. I'd agree with you on that. It's also incredibly patronising. Now, look, nobody wants anyone to feel excluded from National Trust properties. Any race, any ethnicity, any sexual orientation, or whatever. We want everyone to be welcome, of course. But are we really saying that preserving Chartwell, which is where Churchill lived, in Kent, not far from where I live, preserving it as it was, is that somehow offensive to people of racial minorities? Of course it isn't. This whole trend towards the shame of British history and this whole trend to we've got to make all these National Trust properties multicultural somehow is incredibly patronising to the people that they're actually trying to welcome.
Indeed, there's an organisation, a sort of fight-back organisation called Restore Trust, which kind of represents the traditional volunteers that used to help look after stately homes, fantastic gardens, places of interest, historical sites. We just saw the tour at Glastonbury, for example. This is a lady called Cornelia van der Pol. She's the co-founder of Restore Trust, the organisation that wants to get back to what the National Trust used to be about. She said about this kind of foreign culture mission, she said, it seems that this is an attempt to attract ethnic minority visitors by incorporating their cultures into our properties. This patronising patronises visitors and risks misrepresenting the properties. It also seems counterproductive to treat people as belonging to separate identity groups. Well, I mean, I get what she's saying, but what I would say is the people from foreign cultures, Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, whoever, who come to Britain or want to go and have a look at Churchill's house or Glastonbury tour or the various stately homes that the National Trust run, I mean, they don't want to come here and see their own culture. They've come to see a English stately home or a British historical site. They don't need to be lured in there by saying, well, if you come into this house, you know, we got a video of a Hindu festival in there. You're going to love that because you're a Hindu. It's pathetic, isn't it?
It is pathetic, and I think it is that word patronising. You know, it's saying to people, we only think you'll want to come to this property if we show your religion in practice here. When, of course, the history of this house or this property or this beautiful park has nothing to do with that culture because it was built about 500 years ago or whatever. So it's incredibly patronising. And you're absolutely right. If you or I went on holiday, I don't know, to somewhere like India or Sri Lanka or South Africa or anywhere else or South America, we wouldn't want to see their historic monuments.
That's a good analogy.
Of a load of different cultures. We wouldn't want that. We want to see the original as best it could be. And the same should be for our beautiful properties here in the UK.
Yeah, it's the equivalent. It's a very good analogy. I hadn't thought about that. It's a bit like you and I going to see the Taj Mahal and at the gates them say, you're going to love it. We put Union Jacks all over the Taj Mahal. So you're from Britain, you're going to love it. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Robert, great to talk to you as always. Thank you so much. Robert Taylor, journalist and broadcaster. Let me know what you think. The woke National Trust, no longer particularly interested in British history. It's got a mission to embrace cultures from all over the world. Why? They haven't got stately homes from all over the world. They haven't got sites of interest from all over the world. They're British. They're in Britain. That's the whole point. What's going on? Let me know. 0344499 1000. Sunsport with Sean Custis, Director of Sport at that great newspaper. Next. Stay where you are.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Sean Custis is in the studio, Director of Sport from the Sun newspaper. Before we get into some of the big stories, great story about Mo Salah at Liverpool, leaving, of course. We'll get into that in just a second. But it is competition time. We are giving you the chance to win a life-changing £20,000, completely tax-free here on Talk. That's £20,000 straight into your bank account. Spend it, save it, splash it. It's entirely up to you. Here's how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 9th of April 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
So, Sean Custis is in the studio. I said to my wife last night, Sean, I said, blimey, Mo Salah's leaving Liverpool. She said, isn't he that runner? Right, wrong Mo. We'll get there in the end. She doesn't even know what shape of football is.
I think he has done enough to be known by most football fans in this country and around the world, Kevin.
No, indeed, but not my wife. So what's the story? So he's got a year in his contract to go, and yet he suddenly dropped this video yesterday.
Well, if you remember last season, there was a lot of hoo-ha about him not being very happy and wanting a new contract. He made quite a song and dance about not getting a new contract. Then he got it. Which was all well and good, but then this season he hasn't been playing quite so well. There's been a little dissatisfaction with him. He hasn't been very happy with Arne Slot, and it seems that the club and him have come to an agreement that he could leave on a free transfer at the end of the season. Now, ordinarily, you'd have, you know, with a year left, you could get a big transfer fee, but they kind of want the wages off the books. At the same time, they rejected, I think it was 150 million bid for him in 2023. Yeah. So they're losing quite a lot of money in terms of a transfer fee. They also Trent Alexander-Arnold was allowed to go for nothing as well. They ran his contract down as well. So there's some big players who've gone for nothing. Yeah. But then he is earning very big wages, and they do feel the need to put those wages in a different direction.
He hasn't been starting, has he, quite often?
Not always, no. Although he did play pretty well in the last game and scored a good goal.
How old is he, Sean?
33 now, I think.
So there's
yeah.
2 or 3 good years left in it.
Absolutely. I mean, for clubs in Saudi, which is where the smart money's going, they will be able to afford him. The big 4 in Saudi Arabia are backed by the Public Investment Fund, so they can spend what they like. For some reason, PSR regulations, which the rest of us are constrained by, don't seem to apply in Saudi Arabia. There's also another club called Al Qadsiya, which Brendan Rodgers manages. They're backed by a big oil company, but they don't have quite the power of the big 4. And I think if the Saudis would tend to dictate where the big players go, then Salah would be going to one of those big 4 clubs. There's been talk a little bit about, could he go into Europe with like a Barcelona, for instance? The problem there is Lamine Yamal, the best young player in the world, plays in exactly that position. So I don't quite know how that would work. And then they say MLS, do a Messi. How about going over there? He's got a lot of options.
Any British clubs interested?
They may well be, but they won't be able to afford it.
How much does he earn? 300?
Yeah, 300. He'll probably get 500,000 a week, maybe more, maybe 750, maybe $1 million.
Good little retirement job before he hangs up his boots.
Goes to, players like Neymar and Ronaldo, it's off the scale money, so he's going to. Yeah. It's probably more than $1 million a week if he goes not untaxed.
At Craven Cottage, we're still hurting because Mitrovic went and took the Arabian money, but
he did, and he did very well out of it. Yeah, now he's gone to Qatar. I think he's moved on, but he banked a fair few quid.
You can't blame, as he said at the time, we're going, "You're a traitor. You're going for the money." And he said, "Well, yeah, I've got a wife and kids."
But also, they're not British. They're not or English. They're not tied to England. They don't have the same.
These aren't British people, yeah, absolutely.
It's their job. They go where the money is. Some of them. And for Salah, who's got, he's won everything there is to win. Yeah. What's wrong with going somewhere else?
Hell of a player. He will be missed from the British scene. Harry Maguire says he has won his pace back in England. I think that's a fair point, isn't it?
He believes he's earned his place back in the squad. Yeah, I think he probably has. Look, Maguire can be a divisive figure at times in that he gets the mickey taken out of him sometimes by other team supporters, and sometimes had a little bit of stick playing for England. But I think certainly at your club, for instance, you'd be delighted to have him at centre-half.
Yeah.
I would at my club as well. I think he's been a brilliant performer, pretty consistent. The problem he had was under Ruben Amorim. He played 3 at the back and he didn't fit into that. Now he's got Michael Carrick, who plays him all the time. Not surprisingly, he was quite effusive about the difference Carrick was making without slagging off Ruben Amorim in his press conference. And it's given him a new lease of life, and Tuchel's brought him into the England squad. The strange thing is, he finds himself behind Dan Burn, who Maguire has the
former Fulham player, of course.
Is he? He's a true Geordie as far as I know, and a Geordie hero from the Carabao Cup final. But you would say
he's not known as a former Fulham fan, but he is.
That's very few people would refer to him as that.
Only I would know that.
He's Maguire's got all the World Cup experience, England experience, played for Man United at top level for a long time. Yet it seems that Burn would go ahead of him because Tuchel likes Burn and has made it pretty clear he'll probably go. So Maguire has a lot to do to force his way back. But he's a tough cookie, Maguire. I think he believes in himself, as I say, rejuvenated this season.
He's sort of sucked up a lot of criticism and
probably from you as well.
I mean there was this
Maguire.
He was terrible for a while, and then he seems to have bounced back.
But he's also brilliant when it comes to set pieces, and we're doing quite a bit on set pieces to try and emulate Arsenal, I think, in the World Cup as a way of going back to traditional English values, if you like, from set pieces. Maguire is excellent in the box from corners and free kicks. Yeah,
I wouldn't like to be a defender with him charging down on you. He's a massive guy.
He's got great value in that regard.
So, lastly, Luke Littler has met the England squad, no doubt giving them advice on how to hit their targets, right?
Indeed, very good. Arrow them towards glory. Yeah, it's the kind of thing England managers have done. Southgate was very big on this, bringing in people from other sports to give it not so much an inspirational talk, but a bit of fun with the England players, and for them to have a world champion in their midst. This is a man who has been the world champion.
I quite like that idea. A winner.
This is a winner. How did you do it? Look, footballers increasingly really into their darts players really into their football. It's a good mix, relaxes all the players, but makes them see somebody who's at the absolute top of their sport. Can you do the same thing, lads?
Exactly right. What a brilliant... Actually, I really enjoyed that sports report. Thank you very much. Sean Custis, Director of Sport at The Sun, has just been promoted. Fully deserved as well. Now, we're going to go to break in just a second. We'll have the 6 o'clock news, and then we'll be joined by Reform Councillor Darren Grimes. A lot to talk about today, so I wouldn't go anywhere if I was you. See you in a second.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In a little while, I'm going to be talking to a guy called Barry Tomes. He is the representative of Hugh Edwards. He's his publicist. Hugh Edwards, in the slipstream of last night's TV drama on Channel 5 about Hugh Edwards, which was a tough watch. I watched it. I mean, I wouldn't sort of say it was the most entertaining piece of drama I've ever seen. It was pretty sordid and quite tedious at times, but I guess it was a very important story to tell. Hugh Edwards is furious about it. He says it's not accurate, it's not true, and he's going to make his own documentary to tell us his truth. We'll talk to Hugh Edwards' representative in just a little while. In the meantime, let's go over to my next guest to deal with some of the bigger stories of the day. He is the excellent Deputy Leader of Reform UK Deputy Leader of Durham Council, Darren Grimes. Hi, Darren.
Hiya, Kev. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Good to have you on the show, as always. I want to get you on this first. Now, we're talking about Islamification, or fears that this country is becoming Islamified. Still, concern over that mass praying session in Trafalgar Square, the Muslim praying session last week. 3,000 Muslim men all praying openly in the open air. Later, 2 days later, I believe it was Friday, 30,000 Muslims took part in an open-air praying session in a park in Birmingham. It's called Southheath Park, even bigger. So there are these concerns. What's going on? Are we being Islamified? Then, today we've learned of a story that a concerned father of a 7-year-old daughter in Lincolnshire, his kid went to her primary school, Church of England primary school, and came back saying, oh, we were taught how to pray to Allah. These kids in a 7-year-old C of E primary school were told in a religious education lesson how to Muslim pray, all on their knees, all that stuff, facing Mecca, and so on and so forth. The father wrote to Richard Tice, Reform UK Deputy Leader, saying he was worried about this. Richard's just been on the show. He's written to the Archbishop of Canterbury to say what's going on. And this is not the first example I've had of this. I did a story about a year ago, similar circumstance. Load of kids at a primary school in Wales taken to a mosque, girls taught how to put hijabs on, parents not even told. They had an emergency meeting. What's going on? Now, if this is going on at schools all over the country, I've got phone calls from people saying, yes, this happened to my kid. This is a source of concern, isn't it?
Yeah, it is massively. You know, I have residents in the north of Durham who have contacted me about a school that had a very controversial speaker come in who was an imam, and he was there to teach the kids how to pray to Allah. Now, to me, Kev, there are 2 points to make here. One, there is the bending of the knee to every other ideology or faith that isn't our own. You know, that is the only mode of acceptability when it comes to religion these days, is that actually, you know, as long as it's the Muslim faith, then that's fine. Christianity, oh, we don't like that too much. The Church of England, though, the Church of England, what is the point in the Church of England? You covered this on this very channel last week, where you had the vote in the House of Lords for the full-term abortion, the legalization of full-term abortion. Now, whatever your views on abortion, the Church's teachings is vehemently opposed to what it views as the extinguishing of life, perfectly viable life. Now, the church had to be dragged into the House of Lords effectively to actually challenge that. So I don't hold any candle for for Sarah Mullaney, the new Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury. I do not believe that actually she will be the one to challenge this and to actually argue that you do need a more muscular church that stands up for its right to exist. Because right now we've got a state religion in name only. It's not there, Kev. It does the square root of naff all.
Yeah, no, it's a long time ago since I was at school, Darren. No jokes, please. But I remember religious education lessons, and we were quite rightly taught about Islam. We were taught about Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Sikhism, all the religions. Quite rightly, quite rightly. It's good that kids should know about religions. Never once were we taught how to practice those religions. Now, a spokesman for the Lincoln Diocese, because this happened in Lincoln, said, I'll get your thoughts on this. They think this excuses what happens. I think it makes things seem worse. During a lesson, this was last Wednesday, this lesson, by the way, so it's very recently, 7-year-old kids. During a lesson which began following the relevant lesson plan, pupils were invited to demonstrate some of the movements associated with Muslim prayer. The first thing I'd say about that is why. Then the statement goes on to say, although this was outside the lesson's intended approach, it was not an act of worship, no prayers or religious words were spoken, and no child was required to take part. No mats were used, and pupils were not asked to face any particular direction. Well, actually, this father says they were asked to face Mecca, and they are admitting that this was outside the lesson's intended approach. Again, Darren, why are Christian kids being taught how to pray Muslim style? Face Mecca, do this. What the hell is going on? Why?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And what you said there earlier about learning about all faiths, I think it's sensible for children to learn about the world in which we live, Kev. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. But I can bet you my bottom dollar, I'll give you everything that I own if I'm wrong, that actually if you did this in Islamic faith schools, if you taught them how the person of Jesus Christ is so intrinsic to the relationship with God and actually is God himself, if you were to allow children to express in a faith school that practiced the Islamic faith those views and to pray to God, to pray to Jesus Christ, I can bet you my bottom dollar that there would be parents kicking off saying this is totally unacceptable and it simply wouldn't happen. Learn about faith, yes, but religious participation, no, because the Church of England is supposed to be the guardian of our Christian heritage, not a vehicle for someone else's ideology. And that's exactly what it's become today. Of course, you should teach about other faiths in a religious education class, but you're teaching something and making children practice it. That's two very, very different things, Kev.
Absolutely. Crosses the line, and, you know, I think that schools should be told this cannot happen. The school went on to say that in the future, it has taken this parental complaint on board and said it would undertake appropriate reflection to ensure future lessons continue to align fully with the intended non-confessional approach of religious education. Well, I think somewhere in there is some kind of concession that maybe they won't do this anymore. They'd better stop. Parents are very worried about this, and quite rightly in my view. Let's move on, Darren, if you don't mind. I want to play you this. This is the Health Secretary Wes Streeting today at a meeting about health, nothing to do with politics particularly, but he couldn't resist having a pop at your party, Reform UK, and I want to get your reaction to this. Watch this.
In this country, and a type of racism that I have never seen before as someone who was born in the 80s. It's the type of open, unapologetic racism I heard described to me as a kid from the 1970s. It is back. Reform fuel it, their politics benefit from it. A different type of threat to who we are and what we stand for. They have the audacity to dress up nationalism as patriotism and claim that they are the party for the working man and woman. At the same time, they are an affront to this country, its history, its heritage, its values, and its National Health Service. So yes, Reform are a very different threat. I think they're an existential threat to this country, who we are and what we stand for. And if we can't defeat this lot, then we shouldn't be in the business of politics at all. We're going to take them on and we're going to beat them.
So there you are, Darren. You're all racists in Reform UK. What do you think about that?
Are an existential threat to the Labour Party. I damn well tell you that. You know, what we managed to do in Durham, what we are going to do on May the 7th in the upcoming local elections. It's typical of Labour, though, isn't it? When you can't defend your own record, you wheel out your pound shop Tony Blair to throw about the racism card and accusation. You know, actually, what he's saying here is that the views, reflecting the views of millions of ordinary people about uncontrolled immigration, that's tantamount to the racism of old that said no Irish, no blacks, no whatever else. It is absolutely not. I tell you what, the audacity, he says we've got the audacity. They have the audacity whilst they fuel the anti-Semitism that led to the explosion of Jewish vehicles in our capital city. They have exploded our border security in this country. They have led to an existential crisis when it comes to the protection of women and girls who do not feel safe anymore in this country. That's not actually, to point that out, is not racism. That's analysis. It's analysis of a Labour Party that is drowning and throwing punches at the lifeguard. The public aren't stupid though, Kev, right? They'll listen to your show. They aren't the ones that created the division. They're the ones who are finally saying out loud what this nation has been needing to say for years, that we are in last chance saloon. We are at that bar ordering last rounds. And if we don't get this right at the next election, well, I'm afraid to say you can kiss goodbye to any semblance of sanity that you have known and the nation you once knew too.
Absolutely. Now, you know, as you know, I personally know a fair few Reform UK members, including some of their MPs, and I can tell you, I've never heard a racist word from any of them. They're not racists, but they're politicians. They can take it. What about the 4 million decent British people who voted for Reform UK at the last election? I would suggest if we had an election tomorrow, there would be a lot more than 4 million people would vote for Reform UK. West Streeting is basically saying that 4 millions of Brits who support Reform UK support racism. So he's having a go at decent, hard-working Brits, and that, I would suggest, is not acceptable.
It's not. This is the party that opened the borders. Its communities have fractured under their watch, and now they blame the people that are pointing out the mess and saying this cannot go on. You know, ultimately, I think actually this is the sickness of the political left, identity obsessed. They love victim narratives, so anything to do with racism or other immutable characteristics, they cannot help but get involved in that. You know, Suella Braverman, Zia Youssef, to name just two, are they figures of a kind of white English nationalism that he suggests we're all guilty of? You know, this is clown territory. The Labour Party,
Cunningham, a Muslim.
Yeah, Layla Cunningham, of course. Yeah, exactly. In London, of all places. It is clown-esque in the extreme. And I think the British people are going to turn around and say, you know, for generations, my family have voted Labour. We ain't going to be fooled anymore.
Well, here's another reason why people may not vote Labour, and I want to get your take on it, Darren. That is, of course, the nut zero mania as espoused by that lunatic Ed Miliband, the Energy Secretary. Now, we are facing the Strait of Hormuz. If that gets closed up for much longer, it's closed up due to the Iranian war, of course. Yeah. We are facing literally the worst oil shortage, the worst energy crisis the world has ever known. Therefore, Brits are quaking in their boots. Our energy bills, already the highest in the world, could soon rocket even further. Not to mention petrol prices, which will also soar. Ed Miliband, no problem. All you've got to do, this is his solution to the problem that's about to engulf this nation, this crisis. Go down Lidl, buy yourself a £400 plug-in solar panel, and meanwhile organise yourself a £30,000 heat pump. Then you won't have to worry about oil. It's terrifying. that this man is telling us claptrap like this, that the Prime Minister repeated it today about, renewables, we've got to get away from fossil fuels and stop this reliance on foreign oil and gas. We're buying foreign oil and gas, North Sea oil and gas, from the other exploiters of the North Sea oil and gas fields, Norway, because we don't exploit them properly anymore. We're buying fracked gas, fracked energy from America. We're buying foreign energy all the time because of Ed Miliband's mad policies. But they are, Ed and Keir, are steering us down a path that is frankly insane. Or we can get to a point where windmills and solar power exclusively power this country. We can't. It's not true.
It's not. I mean, when I was a kid, Kev, I used to love Sooty and Sweep. You remember Sooty and Sweep?
Yeah, of course I do, yeah.
And at Prime Minister's questions today, I wondered if actually a bit like Sooty and Sweep, Ed Miliband had his hand up Keir Starmer's bottom. I really do. I really do.
Image.
I put people off their tea. But look, I think ultimately, though, that's what he was parroting. The lines of Ed Miliband were what he was championing at that dispatch box today. He refused to actually say, I will stand up for further exploration of North Sea oil and gas, to open up every avenue that we have at our domestic disposal in order to bring down the British public's bills. If you are out there and you are worried about this, you ought to be, because actually we have an energy policy that says to places like the northeast of England, you cannot afford a heat pump, but you can afford to get yourself a solar panel from Lidl or Aldi or whatever else it is. And it won't give you the yield that you need to actually heat and power your life. It is a totally anti-human stance, that the net zero cult, and it's one that says that we ought to be colder and poorer and damn well be grateful for it. I will never, ever take that stance, Kev.
And nor will I, Darren, and it's fantastic to talk to you, always, mate. Come on again very soon. The brilliant Darren Grimes, Reform UK's Deputy Leader of Durham Council. Let me know what you think about some of the excellent things he was saying. 0344 499 1000. As I was saying earlier, next up, very interesting guest, a guy called Barry Tomes, a very experienced publicist. He's now representing Hugh Edwards. I don't know if you watched the Channel 5 drama last night, the fall of Hugh Edwards. I did. I couldn't get to the end of it, to be honest with you, but I did watch a lot of it. And Hugh Edwards now apparently is going to stage a comeback. He wants to make a documentary that he says will tell the truth, because he says last night's representation of what happened in his downfall, his relationship with this kid in Wales, this teenager in Wales, was not true. And he wants to make a documentary about his truth. We'll talk to Hugh Edwards' publicist next. Stay tuned.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing, it is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Did you watch Power, the decline and fall of Hugh Edwards on Channel 5 last night? A long drama. I watched most of it. I must admit, I got to a point where I couldn't take much more of it. I don't think it was that entertaining. A lot of people might say it was an important story to tell. It was the story of how Hugh Edwards allegedly groomed this Welsh teenager and got him to do all sorts of things for money, and it led to the complaints that led to Hugh Edwards' downfall. He's got a publicist, and Hugh apparently wants to tell his story because he thinks last night's drama was irresponsible, unfair, and not a true reflection of the facts. Does he want to stage a comeback? Who knows? Let's speak to an experienced publicist. She used to represent the Beach Boys. So welcome to the show, Barry Tomes. Hi, Barry.
Hello, Kev. Good evening, mate.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So, have you spoken to Hugh since the drama last night? What was his reaction?
Well, I have, but I don't particularly want a reaction until we sit together, which we've got a meeting planned for Friday, Saturday.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm really gathering all the information at the minute, Kevin.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, well, we saw Hugh Edwards' statement before this drama came out saying that Channel 5, or the independent company that made this drama, only approached him very late for his side of the story, and it was too late to incorporate it. He feels that this approach was irresponsible and unfair. That said, this drama was made with the cooperation of what you might call Hugh's victim, this teen or then teenage Welsh kid who was groomed. So they would maintain we've got an accurate story here. So, frankly, Barry, what exactly is Hugh moaning about?
Well, yes, you have got a story from the young man, and I hope it's okay, obviously. But you've got one side of the story. Now, Hugh never even seen this documentary before it was broadcast, and he wasn't given the opportunity to see it. He was only given the opportunity to comment. So I'd approached him, by the way. Let's be clear about that. He's never approached me. Mm-hmm. And the idea is I'm trying to find out what goes on in this world. Why do powerful men do these things? He's guilty. He's a paedophile. I've heard it all day. You're representing him. Yes. And I'm doing it for a reason, Kev, to find out how we keep getting there. Everybody's saying Martin Clunes is a great actor. The poor victims, and there's not just him, of course. There's families, Hugh's families, the young boys' families. They're all saying the same thing, except why does this happen time and time and again with famous people?
Well, I mean, does it? I mean, I know we've had some problems, but with Hugh.
Well, have we had more than one? Have we had more than one? Would you say that?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Yeah, of course, I agree with that.
Okay,
I accept that.
Well, that as long as there's more than one, then I'm not being inaccurate, Kev.
Well, would it not be? Was not the problem here that Hugh Edwards, unbeknownst to millions of people who watched him on the BBC every night, was privately, a gay guy with paedophile proclivities?
Well, he's been found guilty and we're aware, we're all aware what the guilt is, what the sentence. I believe in justice. It's been sentenced. He's serving his sentence. That's all been done. The lots goes on behind the scenes. Who knows what goes on behind anybody's home or private life? The bit I don't understand, and I'm interested in mental health, is how do these things happen? Why do people not notice? And this was not a small thing. It was a big thing, very uncomfortable to watch. Quite boring as a program. Should never have used a television star, because the focus went on instead of the victim and the facts. So for me personally, I'm trying to find out, because mental health seems to be the issue, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not pretending to be a doctor. I'm trying to find out, why does this happen? Why does someone seemingly with everything in their lives, perfect life, just suddenly do a car crash? I'm looking for the black box, Kevin, really.
Well, I see what you're saying, Barry, but, you know, I think you sort of know what happened. I mean, you know, we are all a slave to our sexual proclivities.
Kevin, can I just say,
sexual desire is an extremely powerful facet of all of us, isn't it?
I would agree.
So there's your story. This guy is gay and he's a paedophile. And he followed his personal instincts.
Yeah, I still don't think that's a good answer for a why. There's a lot of things here. And again, as I said, Mr. Edwards absolutely wants to say his piece. I just felt, as a duty of care, when I approached him and spoke with him, he was too vulnerable to do it in the midst, because there's been a chaos. It's been a chaos 3 days, hundreds of press, loads and loads of lies everywhere. But I knew it would be chaos. And I said to him, my advice is to just keep it out of the way. Let me deal with this. Let me speak to people like Kevin and talk and all the others, and let me garner all that information, sit down with you and say, this is the information I found. I've watched the documentary. Now, what's your side?
Well, don't forget, it's not, but let's get that straight. One thing, Barry, it's not a documentary, it's a drama.
No, so that's a drama. Yeah, I do apologise. I'm very trying. I keep saying documentary. Yeah. It's a factual drama, in which case it should be factual.
Well, the victim, the young Welsh guy and his family, who first went to the Sun and told their story, they would say this is a fact. The victim has said it's a factual chronology of what happened between me and Hugh Edwards. And if you watched the drama last night, if we're to take that as true, what happened between Hugh Edwards and that kid was unconscionable. It was disgusting behaviour on the part of Hugh Edwards.
And did you say, if we were to take that as true? Is that what you said? I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
And you are right. I don't know the truth because I wasn't there. What I've done is, and I think it's a reasonable thing to do, I'm more than good to put my head above the parapet. This isn't a disguise. I'm letting people know I am what I do. I think there's a pattern that happens here, and I don't know why his employers didn't see it, why didn't people around him. If we can educate people, and if we can stop the next Hugh Edwards or the next whoever, then I may have done something good here, and I don't want any money for it.
That's an interesting point. Now, I'll tell you what happened with Hugh Edwards, what we know. I mean, this is what the typical BBC. The BBC always protects its stars. You know, they protected Jimmy Savile. They protected...
lots of them.
Rolf Harris. They protected Greg Edwards.
Yeah.
All of these people. They're big stars on screen, and if anybody complains about them, the BBC says, go away. I have personal experience. I knew a guy who was a producer at the BBC that Hugh Edwards harassed. He went to HR and said, can you get this guy off my back? He keeps sending me pictures I don't want to see. He keeps inviting me to hotel rooms. And HR at the BBC said, well, if you want to ruin your career, you carry on with this complaint. He dropped it, but that's why Hugh Edwards was allowed to get away with that. There's your answer, Barry.
Okay, but I still want to know why the pattern, not just Hugh Edwards, generally happens, and it's because of the mental health side, which I'm very interested in and really.
Don't you think he's just playing the mental health card?
Well, he said in the statement, you've probably had the full statement.
I've seen the statement, of course. Yeah.
I think he said that mental health is not an excuse for criminality.
Yeah, to be fair, he did say that.
Yeah, did he say that? Okay.
Yes.
And he also said, which something I think is also fairly accurate, that it also may may explain why people do these despicable things. That's the key here. It's a bit, well, in his life, he's had a car crash. He's wrecked everybody around him. If there's a black box anywhere, then there might not be, Kevin. I might in 2 weeks' time think, why did I do all this? Why did I get all this nonsense and grief? You know, and that might be the case. But I'm old enough not to care what other people really think of me.
Yeah, I know that syndrome, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely right. So I don't care. I've lived a very good, well life, and I've represented thousands of people over 54 years. This is something that I'm exploring, and it might not have been you, Edwards. It could have been another person, because I have represented other people as well. And then you find out, well, that's not true. So you walk away. I will get to the truth. And if I think the truth is good, I will insist that certain amount of questions are answered by him in person, on camera. If he doesn't agree to do that, then we won't go any further.
So, to get this straight, Hugh does want to make a documentary telling his side of the story.
He hasn't said documentary. He wants to tell it, and he asked me what the way I thought was best. And I said, number one, not through statements. This statement was an holding pattern because a show suddenly appeared from nowhere.
Yeah.
It could be a podcast, and we've already had an offer for an American podcast, a really big one. Also, I've been offered 3 television shows this week. I'm about to have another call, another one. So all these people are saying he's trying to make a comeback. He's not. I'm not an agent. I'm not trying to get him work. I don't want him in Celebrity Big Brother. I don't want him on nothing other than one statement. Maybe a documentary, certainly not a drama with that famous actors, because that was ridiculous and the wrong thing to do.
Was it? Why did you say that's ridiculous?
Because straight after the show, within about 15 minutes, I did what you do. You go on the internet, look, what's the comments? There was around 100 comments. 80 of the comments were commenting about how brilliant of an actor Martin Clunes is.
Well, it was a good performance. It was a great performance.
Hang on, good performance. I'm not disputing that, and I really rate him, don't get me wrong. But I felt that took the focus away from the victim. Nobody was saying, obviously 10% said, oh, he's a nonce, he's a pedo. 80% was saying, well, a great actor, love Doc Martin, can't wait for his next thing to come out. So 10% that were left in the middle of thinking, what the hell did I just see?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I watched it, and you know.
Yeah, but you fell asleep. Be honest.
I didn't fall asleep. I'll tell you what I'd said to my wife. I told a few people here. I used to be a TV critic. Here's my 3-word review: sordid and boring. That notwithstanding.
Hang on, sordid and boring.
Sordid and boring. Yeah,
okay.
That's 3 words. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's my review. However. I respect critics and members of the public, people who have said it's still an important story to tell. I think
100%.
I think it was an important story to tell. This guy, Hugh Edwards, was not just any guy. This was the most respected man in the country. The BBC, the state broadcaster's main anchor, the man who announced the death of the Queen. And it turns out he was a sordid paedophile. That's an important story to tell, don't you think? And when you tell that story in the form of a drama, you're going to need an actor to play him.
You are, but what I'm saying, I think it should have been an unknown actor. I've got no problem with the programme, because these programmes do help other people that might be going through the same thing. My point is, we know what he did. And I'm not hiding from the fact that now I'm being accused of paedophile lovers. No, I don't care. I don't actually care what anybody thinks, okay? They don't have dinner at my house. They don't pay for my costs. So all I want to try and find is the why. Now, what if I don't find a why in 2 weeks' time? I'll come back on and say, you know what, Kevin, I never found that why. But what if I come back with, you never guess what, I found a trigger here, because I'm also dealing with mental health stuff with the clinics that I work with as well. And 3 members of my family committed suicide. 2 of them under the age of 30.
Okay, look, sympathy for all of that, Barry.
Yeah,
but a lot of people think that Hugh Edwards, at the height of this story, when everybody became aware of the horror of what had happened with him, and he lost his job, his status, he lost everything. He then played the mental health card. I got mental health problems, so we all had to drop the story, because you have to pay respect to potential mental health issues. I'm not entirely convinced that Hugh Edwards actually has got mental health issues. I think he just played the mental health card.
Okay, just to counter that, from what I know, okay, my understanding is it's documented he's had the mental health for over 25 years and deep depression. And I've watched people go into depression. And as I say, you know, it's had a very bad outcome. I'm not trying to defend his actions. You said it was boring. I'm glad you said that because
it was boring.
Yeah,
It's
my reviews last night were boring, too long. Definitely. I thought it was too, I didn't think it needed to be that long. It was boring. Absolutely, and I think the ending was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a bit stupid.
You brought a man. Hang on.
Well, you know, it was just. I agree with that. It was a bit prosaic. It was a bit silly.
Ridiculous.
Announcing his own downfall is a bit
exactly.
silly.
After they brought him down, they give him the job back for 2 minutes at the end. Ridiculous.
Couple of last questions, Barry. Do you like Hugh Edwards?
I don't dislike him. I'm not a friend. I've only met him once. I spoke to him 4 or 5 times. He's not been offensive or rude to me. And if he does, he'll soon find out what happens.
And secondly, what do you say to people who are saying you're just being an apologist for a paedophile?
Thank you very much. Spell my name right and you can write what you like about me. I don't care.
Once a publicist, Barry? Well, listen, let's keep in touch and let me know, you know, what Hugh's next move is going to be. And by the way, I'm serious about this. Tell him if he wants to tell his story. I'm your man. Come on to talk. We'll do
Kevin's the man.
I'm serious.
Kevin's the man. No, I know. I understand. Thank you, and I understand. Thank you very much for that. And yes, there will be. You know, I'm waiting until the end of the week to have the conversation. Then I might put out a short statement, and then at some time in the near future, the whole thing will be told, and nobody has to believe it. Nobody has to watch it. Like Martin Cruz says, if you think it's too soon, don't watch it. What an idiot! What an idiot!
Well, I don't think it was too soon.
He said on Good Morning Britain.
I don't think that's an idiotic statement at all. Yeah. But that notwithstanding,
he acted ridiculous on Good Morning Britain.
Well, that's what you say. All right, but
listen, I might tell you my opinion.
I know. Well, listen, Barry. Seriously, very good to talk to you. Remember what I said about Hugh Edwards, and keep us posted. We'll keep in touch. That is Barry Tomes, Hugh Edwards' publicist. Not so much staging a comeback, but he wants to make a documentary about his story. What do you think about all that? 03444 99 1000. Well, next up, we're going to talk to the deputy head of news at the Sun newspaper about what's in the paper tomorrow. And of course, it was the Sun newspaper that brilliantly broke the story of Hugh Edwards' disgraceful, scandalous secret, what he was really like. So very good to talk to Will next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Deputy Head of News at the Sun, Will Barker, is in the studio. As I just said, Sun played a central role in the exposing of Hugh Edwards disgracefully when they first did this. All the great and the good. Oh, this sort of muckraking newspaper. How dare they say this about wonderful BBC legend Hugh Edwards. Turned out to be totally true. So here's to the Sun newspaper. The newspaper was integrally involved in last night's drama. 1.8 million people watched it, among them me. Will watch some of it as well. But you've got a lot in the paper tomorrow. What are you saying?
Well, I mean, it's just stoked it all up again, we're seeing. I mean, there's been lots of reaction to it, and we're very pleased how it's gone down. The Martin Clune's performance has been hailed all around. The reviews have sort of gone from 5 stars and other mixed ones, but generally really good. So yeah, there's a feeling that it's kind of presented this question again, and we're now asking the question is, how is he still out and free? Why was he never jailed? And a lot of the viewers are saying that now, just sort of seeing it in
because this of course is the story of the poor victim, who was a teenage Welsh boy at the time, horribly groomed by Hugh Edwards down the phone into performing more and more sordid acts for Hugh's gratification, for money. And also there was a kind of emotional bullying of this poor kid as well. His family, his poor mum and his stepfather increasingly found out about this. They go to the BBC saying, do something about this. Of course, they're shrugged off time and time again. Eventually they come to the Sun newspaper and you do their story. So it's an important story to be told. You've got in your story one viewer writing, I don't get why Hugh isn't in prison. He needs to pay for what he's done. That's a fact. Another said, watching Power, Martin Clunes is excellent, but it's very uncomfortable viewing. How did Hugh Edwards escape prison? It was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, but I think an important story to tell, because the level of this guy's deception was massive. You know, this is the most respected man in Britain. He's the BBC's main anchor. And it turns out he's a sordid paedophile. Absolutely disgraceful. So the story had to be told, and you know, the Sun needs to be complimented and applauded for its role in the exposing of this man. Take us back to how it felt to be on that newspaper in the days when all the great and the good were saying you're disgraceful muckrakers.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, we'd been working on this for days, months, and almost years. I think we'd been getting calls about Hugh. I mean, working on it, and yeah, and you know, sort of party to a lot of that kind of working as they kind of created the story that eventually went out, and then it just kind of all hit the wall, and we were getting all sorts of pops taken at us from all over the place, and you know, there was a lot of worry where this might end up going. But
because at first you didn't name him, and it was his wife, wasn't it? After about a week of speculation,
exactly, his
wife came out and said, "Look, it's my husband, it's Hugh Edwards. He's now in hospital due to mental health issues," and that, of course, kind of brought the curtain down on the whole story, because you can't really persecute a guy who may be suffering from mental health problems. But presumably in the paper tomorrow you will be going into what all these viewers are demanding. When you saw the details in last night's show, the horror of what he did to that kid, why isn't he in jail?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we did a study at the time where we went and then watched all sorts of other cases very similar that weren't celebrities, and weren't represented by very expensive lawyers, and increasingly they were being jailed, but for some reason he was not.
He should be in jail, and that story that we saw last night, and I don't doubt it, because it was done with obviously the cooperation of your newspaper, which knew all about the story, and the family, the victim and his family. So they told their side of the story. The victim has come out and said, brilliant recreation of exactly what happened. Now, if that, I'm sure that's true, what Hugh Edwards did to him is frankly disgusting, absolutely disgusting. He is, you know, an excuse for a man, and should be in jail. So read the Sun tomorrow. It should be particularly interesting. Now, I haven't looked at the details of this next story, Will, but the headline is, the Vogue Viper.
Well, yeah,
the mind boggles. What's that about?
Yeah, well, this incredible story from one of these romance fraudsters. She was a model at Vogue back in the day, and since she's now 50, and has been going around fleecing young guys who'd been trying to woo her. There'd been plans for a wedding at Cliveden and all these kind of things. She was just ripping them off left, right, and centre, taking them for thousands. I think there's about sort of 4 or 5 men involved in this, and she's been jailed. It's Gemma Kingsley, and she's been jailed for 7 years today.
Good, she deserves it. Let's go down to this emoji story. I like this. The emoji that Brits find the most annoying is the thumbs up. That one. Everyone in the studio going like this. Yeah, that's the one. Thanks very much. Thanks for illustrating that, because otherwise I'd have never known. More than half see that emoji as blunt and lazy, and you should have written a reply.
We're sort of seen as I think the kids sort of see it as sort of passive aggressive. I think my kids I've sent it to them a few times. They're like it's sort of seen as a bit of a slight on them, really.
Well, I tell you what. No, I mean, I use it all the time. That's because you and me, we're men of a certain age.
Exactly,
I read some time ago that as an emoji means you're middle-aged or even older. What's the eggplant?
Well, the aubergine.
I don't even know. Yeah, the aubergine. What's that one for? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we won't go there. We won't go there. The dancing woman.
Well, yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. I guess it's considered confusing. I mean, it's just a woman having a bit of a dance. That's one that the kids have lost on me.
Yeah, and so 81% of the over 50s disliked all emojis. 72% admitting they do not. As I'm just proving.
Yeah, exactly.
They do not understand many of them. I don't. But the researchers, Prospectus Global, said emojis like the eyes, thinking face, or even drooling face can mean different things depending on who's reading them. What's playful to one person can feel confusing to irritate or irritating to another. Well, half the time I don't know what the hell they're all about, but the kids love them, don't they?
Yeah.
I remember David Cameron.
He didn't know what LOL
LOL. He thought it meant lots of love, didn't he? See, you reach a certain age and it all passes you by. Will, sounds like a brilliant edition of the Sun newspaper tomorrow. Go out and buy it, folks. That's Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at that fine paper. Next up, we're taking your calls. 0344 499 1000. That's next. You better stick around.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side promise you one thing, it is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
A lot of love coming in for my last guest, Barry Tomes, the publicist for Hugh Edwards. Not. This is from Becky in Barrow-in-Furness. I've never been so disgusted as I am with Barry Tomes. How the hell can someone be a publicist for a pervert? He should be ashamed of himself. Hugh Edwards is a convicted paedophile. End of. There's no reason for him to do this except lining his pocket. Here's another one from Teresa. Teresa says, "Hi, Kev. That convicted Hugh Edwards apologist publicist makes my skin crawl. Best regards, Teresa." Here's just a quick other one. This is a different topic, but this is from Dave. Afternoon, Kev. Streeting. West Streeting and his bunch of botany mates are the existential threat to our country, not reform. And Labour are actively destroying it. I would agree with him on one point. Neither he nor his odious colleagues should be involved in the politics of this country ever. That's Dave in South Gloucester. This is from, and there's not a name on this, but well, let's do Julian. Julian, talking about religious prayers, Muslim prayers in classrooms. If it's not okay for adults to coerce children into religion, why is it okay for Muslim parents to force their beliefs onto their own children at an early age? I think that's a natural process. You're born into a Muslim family or a Christian family or any religion family, and you're going to grow up in that religion. I don't think you can accuse parents of coercing their kids into their religion. That's just a natural process, but it should be happening in schools, should it? Let's go to the phones. Let's talk first to Mandy in Felixstowe. Hi, Mandy.
Hi, Kev. I want to talk about Ed Siliband.
Siliband, net zero, nut zero, yeah.
Yeah. I've been on artificial medical feed for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be stored in a medical fridge.
In a medical fridge, yep.
Yep. It goes, I have to have it on thing that has to be charged every day. How, and that's what keeps me alive. Without that, without these stupid idiots that are in at the moment, where do I stand with power cuts?
So do you have to charge? Do you have to, Mandy? Do you have to charge your fridge every day? In other words, you charge it up, and if there's a power cut, it's still got power. Is that how that goes?
No.
So what happens if there's a power cut?
Well, it's got to stay between 3 and 8 degrees specifically.
So how long before it heats up beyond those temperatures?
If I'm lucky, a day.
A day, okay. So, yeah, what you're worried about is the potential mass power cuts that we might have due to Ed Miliband's nut zero insanity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, there's a lot of other people.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Mandy. Yeah.
And I'm so angry.
Yeah, we're angry and worried, I would imagine. It's so right. I hadn't thought about that. You know, none of us like to lose power. Power cuts are a real pain. However, for people like you, power is essential for your medicine.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, listen, Mandy, very good point, and I hope it doesn't come to that, but stay strong and keep in touch. Thanks for a good phone call. Mandy in Felixstowe. Let's go to David in Newcastle, wants to talk about Morgan McSweeney phone gate. Hi, David.
Hi, Kev. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, Morgan McSwindle.
McSwindle.
I said this to Julia about Boris and Phonegate, exactly the same issue. Last time I was listening, sorry, I've come off the road now. You were talking to your guest about your tech knowledge.
Yeah.
Your stuff's backed up in the cloud, but also there's WhatsApp for.
Yeah, WhatsApp is retrievable. We think that these messages between Morgan McSweeney and Matthew Doyle about Peter Mandelson were on WhatsApp, their personal WhatsApp. That's retrievable, isn't it, David? No problem at all.
Absolutely easy, but also there's WhatsApp for iPad or WhatsApp for laptop. So he could just dial in straight away and transfer the messages to whichever authority is requesting them. Very, very simply, unless they've been deleted.
Absolutely. Well, good point, David. You're absolutely right. David in Newcastle there. Let's go to last call to Dom in Somerset. Hello, Dom. You want to talk about net zero? What would you like to say?
Hi, evening, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, we're in rural Somerset.
Yeah, you want to talk about the effect on farmers of Ed Miliband's crazy policies?
This started well before Ed Miliband. I mean, the bloke's a raving lunatic. It's apparent.
That much we agree on.
You can drive up the M5 or any A road in parts of Somerset now. There are swathes of these.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, you go around the country, half the country seems to be covered in hideous solar panels and the rest are covered in those sort of War of the Worlds, massive windmills. It's vandalism, if you ask me.
The windmills, I mean, whatever you think of Trump, he's banged on the button with the green scan.
Here's what I think, Dom. I'm going to have to go in a second. If you ask the people of this country tomorrow, listen, you don't save the planet, but we halve your energy bills tomorrow, or we do save the planet and your energy bills go up, I'll tell you, they'll vote for the former every day of the week. Dom, I've got to go because the show's nearly over. But excellent call. Thank you for ringing. Dom in Somerset. Peter Cardwell is in the studio. What have you got lined up for our audience's entertainment all the way till 10 o'clock?
More on the phone, including Will Geddes, the security expert, is going to talk us through exactly how the stuff can be recovered. I've got an update as well on the Golders Green ambulances. That's coming after the news. Over half of NHS doctors want to work from home from an online hospital. Madness.
Work from home.
I mean, next to the security guards that want to work from home. And they row over Islamic prayers at his Church of England primary school, as well as a bit of Hugh Edwards chat as well. I know you've been covering that on your programme too. So plenty to sink our teeth into between now and 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean,